If you've ever been ready for Ondas earnings, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's pre-market playbook. We've made it to Thursday so far, and we've got PPI coming up today. AMAT reports after the bell, so we'll see what that does for us. We're still kind of sideways here in the market. Do we get our catalyst to break up or down? Have to wait and see here today. We've got multiple guests for you here today. Adam Mesh is going to be joining us. We're also going to have our guest Henry Schwartz from the Cboe here today. So we're going to have a full loaded show for you here today. Benzinga's pre-market playbook, the Thursday edition for August 13th, 2026 starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all are ready for the penultimate day of the week as we get one day closer to the weekend. We had CPI yesterday, had kind of a non-reaction. We're hoping that we're going to see more than that, but not yesterday. We'll see if PPI confirms what we saw in the CPI. Perhaps this is the catalyst that we need to break up or break down today. We'll go through that here together. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces, and I love this comment. Ed with the hand clapping, good morning. And it's a feeling good to be first. You are, in fact, first here today. Ed, you did it. You absolutely did it. Zach McCracken saying the reason you're able to do that is because he allowed you to, which is rather amusing to me. Thanks, Zach. EKS, good morning. Welcome back. Yes, that girl. Good morning. It is great to see you as always. Welcome back. Zach McCracken, good morning to the Benzi gang. Zach, you're funny. Thanks for joining us here again today. Good afternoon to you, but good morning to everybody else. Pot G, likewise, good afternoon. Belgium, it's sunny over there. We love to see it. Attitude looks sunny today too, Pot G. Let's get it together and get it going. What's the play for today? You tell me, Ed. You tell me. Jay, good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Peter, great to see you again. Good morning and welcome back. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Whisk, good morning. Francis, good morning. Liam, good morning. Alam, good morning. Welcome back. Brett, good morning. Good to see you again. Chuck, good morning. Derek, locked in and ready to go. Good morning. EKS talking about FGI, which reported earnings and is trading higher here today. We probably look at that. Cynthia, good morning. Welcome back. Father Lion, welcome back. Ondas, indeed. Ondas trading up here, 1065. It looks like. We'll see if that report is out. It obviously was not out prior to me coming on, so no way for me to prepare for that. We're going to have to do it live. F it, we'll do it live here today, folks. Dan, good morning. Welcome back. Astro Kev, good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Matthew, good morning from the X platform. Let's go. Alvin, good morning. Teresa Linton, good morning. Master Chief, good morning. Durkus, good morning. Laura in Florida, good morning. Welcome back. JJ, good morning. Welcome back. Tyler, good morning, everyone. Ryan, ready for tonight? Dude? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to have football games. And I know they don't count, but they're still going to be playing professional football. Today is the day. Robot to Trade, good morning. Welcome back. Zach says record revenue raises guidance. Is that from the Ondas report? We'll take a look at that soon. Will Ondas finally break through the 9 to 11 range for earnings? Oh, that is the right question, Brandon. We really do need to clear out this range. Hopefully we do that. Hopefully we trade into the low to mid-teens here today. We shall see. The Rothschild Foundation, good morning. Carlos, good morning. Crankbait, good morning. Maverick, good morning. Knights Lance, he's back. Good morning. Just passing through, good morning. Carmen, it's great to see you again. Good morning. Jay, good morning. Watch Lunar and Iran. So I didn't look at Lunar yet today, but Iran just had some news here. Iran actually spiked up to 46.79 today. It's actually coming back into a fair value gap area at 45.74 right now, FYI. So Iran might be on deck here today. We'll see. HB Darkside Hemi, good morning. Big Bees, good morning. Casey, good morning. Kelly, good morning. Rooster, good morning. Lion Atlas is back. Let's see if he's here for more than 5 minutes today. Good morning. Cancel, good morning. Welcome back. Harlugo, good morning. Welcome back. I'm not the best, but I appreciate that. Glad we were able to get you those documents yesterday as well. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. right, green across the screen here so far this morning. S&P futures up 0.15%. Dow futures are up 0.28%. And the NASDAQ actually just turned red a second ago. They're basically at unchanged, but lower by 0.04%. Now let's take a look at some cues from last session as well as what we can expect here today. We do, of course, have some stocks in focus for you. Real estate, information technology, and utility stocks rose on Wednesday along with other sectors except communication services, consumer discretionary, and materials. U.S. stock futures were mixed on Thursday as the Dow, S&P 500 indices rose while the NASDAQ declined following Wednesday's mixed close. After the consumer price index rose 3.4% year over year in July, down from June's 3.5% increase, in line with expectations, investors will review July's PPI and ex-food and energy PPI data set to be released before the opening bell. We're expecting that in about 14 minutes from now. The U.S. and Iran made no progress on reviving their interim peace agreement, leaving the Strait of Hormuz heavily disrupted amid fresh attacks on commercial shipping, and that is according to Reuters. Geopolitical tensions remain elevated as President Trump took to social media declaring that, quote, Iran is all talk and no action, the bully of the Middle East no longer, end quote. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.67% and the 2-year bond was at 4.17%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show the market's pricing a 36.1% likelihood that the Federal Reserve hikes the current interest rates during its September meeting. That continues to drop, by the way. We've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one is going to be an earnings report from yesterday. This is, of course, going to be Cisco. The ticker is CSCO, and shares tumbled by 5.63% in the pre-market on Thursday, despite better than expected financial results and guidance during the fourth quarter of fiscal 2026. However, it implemented a global baseline price increase of 3.4 to 4% across its core hardware and technical services portfolio. The next stock on our list is going to be Cerberus Systems. The ticker is CBRS. It dropped 17.39% as it reported second quarter GAAP loss of $2.98 per share and revenue of $180.11 million. That missed the $194.2 million analyst estimate. However, core revenue more than doubled to $210 million, while its cloud business nearly quadrupled year over year. The next stock on our list is going to be Inflection. The ticker is INFQ, and it declined by 3.11% as it missed earnings per share estimates, but reported second quarter revenue of $12.63 million, which beat the estimate of $10.64 million. The next stock on our list is streaming giant Netflix. The ticker is NFLX. It was 1.83% higher after Bill Ackman disclosed a new position in the company with 3.15 million shares 4 years after exiting the stock with a $400 million loss. The last stock on our list is, in fact, going to be Applied Materials. The ticker is AMAT. Sorry, let me go back. Oh, my heavens to Betsy. The ticker is AMAT. Shares rose by 0.63% ahead of its earnings scheduled to be released after the closing bell. Analysts are expecting quarterly earnings of $3.39 per share on revenue of $9 billion. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart and see where we are. And I'll be honest with you, not a whole lot has changed. We continue to move sideways. The good news here, as mentioned, is that we have not broken down beneath Thursday's last Thursday's low. That's, of course, going to be the August 6th date. That low was 767.46. So that is still going to be one of our key support levels if we can hold it. As far as a key resistance area, it's definitely going to be that all-time high, 776.85. The daily chart, to my eye, certainly looks like we want to challenge that and perhaps break through it. But the big problem is that we haven't had a catalyst strong enough to do this, at least not yet. Market definitely seems like it's kind of waiting for something. We thought maybe it was the CPI yesterday, but we basically had an inside candle. Now, if we start on the daily, technically, this is not an inside candle because the high of the body was like just a handful of cents higher than the body from the previous day. But that doesn't really tell the full story. If you look inside here, like for example, at this 5-minute chart, you'll notice that we spiked up in the pre-market and then we opened at that high that was higher than yesterday's high, but it was still within the highs of the pre-market from the day before. We sold off, didn't approach the low from the previous day. And when we rebounded, we didn't approach the high from yesterday or the day before. So by all trading action, this was absolutely an inside day, and we're just kind of kicking the can down the road. Now we'll see what the PPI does here today for the SPY and for tech and for the rest of the movement of the market here. We'll see how it shakes out here today. But let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. It's going to be BlackRock today. BlackRock maintains an optimistic outlook for U.S. equities while preparing for structural shifts across the broader economy. Despite economic headwinds, BlackRock stays overweight on U.S. equities, pointing out that strong corporate earnings fueled by the AI buildout and a favorable macro backdrop are outpacing higher interest rate expectations, end quote. Analysts project S&P 500 corporate earnings to grow by 11.6% annually over the next 5 years, though this outlook remains conditional on artificial intelligence boosting productivity and profit margins. Economically, BlackRock foresees an environment shaped by, quote, a structurally higher cost of capital, end quote, alongside persistent inflation risks. BlackRock expects long-term bond yields to stay under upward pressure because, quote, governments, AI hyperscalers, and companies across the economy are competing ever more intensely for capital, end quote. Regarding stock valuations, BlackRock notes we see valuations falling as earnings growth outpaces share price gains, allowing multiples to decline over time, end quote. To navigate this regime, they prefer targeted equity exposure tied to AI infrastructure bottlenecks, such as chips, power, and data centers, as well as sectors like healthcare and technology. I think what I like the most about that particular BlackRock insight there is that our group, without BlackRock's assistance, is doing all of that. We've been looking at AI infrastructure bottlenecks, such as chips, power, and data centers. Memory, obviously, is included there in chips. And we've also been talking a lot about healthcare and technology, and frankly, biotechnology from this group. So good to see that we are absolutely where the puck is and, frankly, where it's going, at least according to BlackRock there. Now, let's take a look at some more news here. We did have some earnings yesterday. First one we're going to take a look at here is going to be Cisco. Cisco says the AI boom is forcing companies to upgrade networks, and it's not optional. They're literally being forced to do this. And that should be good for some of these companies making some of this equipment. Cisco Systems, ticker CSCO, their stock traded lower on Thursday morning, despite the company reporting better than expected fiscal fourth quarter 2026 results and issuing guidance above Wall Street's estimates. Revenue rose to $17.25 billion. That topped the $16.82 billion analyst estimate. And adjusted earnings of $1.22 per share beat the $1.17 consensus estimate. Management described the current environment as the early stages of a multi-year networking and AI infrastructure supercycle. The company cited accelerating AI adoption, hyperscaler investment, enterprise AI deployments, cybersecurity demand, and high-performance networking. During the earnings call, CEO Chuck Robbins said companies increasingly view AI readiness, cybersecurity, and infrastructure upgrades as essential spending. Customers are shifting money from other budgets into IT because falling behind could put their businesses at a competitive disadvantage. Robbins said this spending is becoming similar to cybersecurity investments. Quote, it's not just optional, end quote. Cisco said the trend is helping fuel what it calls a multi-year networking supercycle. Cisco's product revenue rose 24% year over year to $13.5 billion, while services revenue was flat at $3.8 billion. Total remaining performance obligations, or RPO, increased 7% to $46.7 billion, and product RPO rose 9%, while annual recurring revenue reached $32.1 billion, up 3%. Subscription revenue represented 48% of quarterly revenue. Software revenue increased 11% to $6.2 billion, and adjusted gross margins was 66.3%, while adjusted operating margin was 35.9%. Operating cash flow climbed 27% to $5.4 billion, and Cisco ended the quarter with $15.9 billion in cash, cash equivalents, and investments. The company also returned $3.2 billion to shareholders, including a $1.7 billion in dividends and $1.5 billion in share repurchases. Cisco had $8.1 billion remaining under its stock repurchase authorization plan. Product orders jumped 35% year over year in the fourth quarter. Orders increased 44% in the Americas, 25% in EMEA, and 19% in the APJC area. Hyperscaler orders grew at triple-digit rate, while service providers and cloud orders surged 95%. Enterprise orders rose 21%, and public sector orders increased 30%. Networking orders climbed 40%, marking the 8th consecutive quarter of double-digit growth, and networking revenue increased 28%. Cisco secured $4 billion in hyperscaler AI infrastructure orders during the quarter, and that brought fiscal 2026 orders to $9.3 billion, about 4.5 times the fiscal 2025 level. Acacia generated more than $1 billion in orders. Cisco also shipped more than 850 400G and over 75 800G coherent pluggable optics. The company added 3 hyperscaler design wins and expects several more AI design wins over the next 6 months across its Silicon One platform and optics. AI infrastructure orders from NeoCloud, Sovereign Cloud, and enterprise customers exceeded $400 million in the quarter and topped $1 billion for fiscal 2026. Enterprise AI demand also strengthened. AI-tagged Nexus switch orders increased more than 85% sequentially, while data center networking orders rose more than 35%. Wi-Fi 7 represented more than half of wireless orders. Security orders grew by double digits. More than 1,500 customers adopted Cisco's new security products during the quarter, bringing cumulative net new customers to more than 6,400. Firewall orders increased more than 30%, and Splunk added more than 280 new logos during the quarter and surpassed 1,000 for fiscal 2026. Collaboration recorded its strongest quarter in 7 years, with video device revenue rising 40%. Cisco also resolved 145,000 customer support cases entirely through AI during fiscal 2026. Its Circuit AI Assistant processed more than 75 million prompts in the fourth quarter. That's nearly 4,500 enterprises that have signed up for Cisco's cloud control since its June launch. Resilient infrastructure services powered by Cisco IQ now serve more than 8,600 customers. Cisco expects fiscal first quarter revenue of $18 to $18.2 billion. That's well above the analyst consensus estimate of $16.8 billion. The company forecast adjusted earnings of $132 to $134 per share, compared with the $116 consensus estimate. And for fiscal 2027, Cisco expects revenue of $72.2 billion to $73.4 billion versus the analyst estimate of $68.69 billion. Adjusted earnings are expected to range from $505 to $511 per share, above the $480 consensus estimate. And Cisco expects hyperscaler AI infrastructure revenue to reach $7.5 billion in fiscal 2027, nearly doubling from $3.8 billion in fiscal 2026. So just a lot there, and I'm sorry for going through it so quickly, but man, that actually seems like a good report. Seems like that is conducive to the AI trade. But if we go back to Pro and we take a look at Cisco itself, down we go. Down we go. The interesting thing to note here for the purpose of trading today is that we're basically consolidating and trading sideways right near the impulse low that we had from the earnings report. Initially, on the top line number, stock went higher, but reversed, settled lower, and is settling in that same area here today. So trade purposes, I'd watch maybe 117 to the upside and maybe 115 to the downside. A break and retest of that level in either direction might set up a fairly decent intraday trade here today. Going back to the daily chart, this is where we were at. A trade up might have put all-time highs in play. Now here, we're basically going to work on trying to recapture the 20-day, which I have at 116.52. All right, next report, and it looks like Ondas selling off here. I'll go through that when I get some time, and we'll take a look. Joe here saying Ondas report looked good too, and down she goes. Look, that's just that's how it's going. There are a couple of these companies that have reported really good earnings, and its stock is still traded down, maybe because the bar is too high. One of the things I've been saying about Ondas is they really do need to execute. We're in that stage now where they need to execute. They've had good numbers. They've raised guidance. They need to keep meeting that. So when I get a chance here, Joe, I'll look through that and let you know what I think. But the price tells the story. Lost the 9 handle after being nearly 11 earlier today. So it is what it is, as they say. All right, let's take a look at the Cerberus report. Cerberus sees NeoCloud breaking away from NVIDIA dependence, calls 2027 opportunity large. Now, what does this mean for NVIDIA? We'll have to wait and see. Cerberus Systems, ticker CBRS, their stock is falling in pre-market trading on Thursday after the company reported mixed second quarter results after Wednesday's market close. Cerberus reported an adjusted loss of 4.5 cents, narrower than the analyst estimate for a loss of 17 cents per share. Meanwhile, sales of 180.11 million fell short of the 194.2 million consensus estimate. Core revenue reached a record 209.9 million. That is up 103% year over year and above the company's guidance. Core gross and operating margins also exceeded expectations. The company's core gross margin expanded 940 basis points year over year to 40.6%. Cloud and other services gross margin increased 1,600 basis points to 41.8%, while hardware gross margins improved 510 basis points to 38.8%. Chief Financial Officer Bob Koman said quarterly adjusted gross margin would have been 500 basis points higher without additional costs tied to expanding cloud capacity by renting back more of the company's systems. Core operating loss narrowed to 33.6 million. The operating margin improved to negative 16% from negative 42% a year earlier. Cerberus ended the second quarter with more than 8.6 billion in cash and marketable securities. The company also has an unused $850 million revolving credit facility. Core cloud and other services revenue surged 287% year over year to 127.7 million. Cerberus cited demand for fast inference services and the ramp up of its OpenAI deployment. Core hardware revenue increased 17% to 82.1 million. Cerberus has secured more than 600 megawatts of data center capacity over the past 7 months. The capacity is either operational or contracted for delivery by the end of 2027. Its broader pipeline reached its gigawatt scale. The company is also working with Amazon Web Services on solutions expected to become available through AWS Bedrock in the first quarter of 2027, expanding its reach among its enterprise customers. CEO Andrew Feldman said Cerberus plans to unveil its 4th generation CS4 system next week. The company also signed 6 deals worth more than 30 million each during the second quarter. Feldman said the company's 25.4 billion in remaining performance obligations does not include backlog from Amazon Web Services or other hyperscalers. During the earnings call, Feldman said emerging neocloud providers are beginning to diversify beyond NVIDIA, that's ticker NVDA, after initially focusing heavily on its hardware. Feldman said some neoclouds are adopting multiple vendors, while others are building around advanced micro devices, ticker AMD, or power assets, creating what he called large opportunities for Cerberus in 2027. For the third quarter of 2026, Cerberus expects core revenue of 214 to 216 million, a gross margin of 38% to 40%, and an operating margin of negative 25 to negative 23%. Management expects core gross margin to bottom at 38 to 40% in the third quarter before improving in the fourth quarter. The company expects lower cost, company-owned systems to replace the rented capacity. Cerberus raised its fiscal 2026 outlook to revenue of 880 to 890 million, a gross margin of 41 to 43%, and an operating margin of negative 19 to negative 17%. Feldman said the company's disaggregated inference technology, with GPUs currently running in its labs, is expected to be deployed commercially available in the fourth quarter. Cerberus expects inference throughput to increase more than 20-fold over the next 18 months. New systems are also expected to deliver roughly 2 times the speed annually for several years. The company expects core revenue to more than triple in 2027. Manufacturing capacity is projected to expand more than tenfold during 2026, supported by new factories with Flex and Sanmina, with further expansion planned for 2027. Revenue from other hyperscaler partnerships is expected to begin in mid-2027 and then ramp through 2028. The company's existing $25.4 billion in remaining performance obligations excludes Amazon Web Services and, of course, other hyperscaler backlog. Cerberus is targeting long-term core gross margins above 60%. The company expects higher fast inference pricing, increased use of owned data center capacity, improved throughput, scale benefits, lower wafer costs, and reduced reliance on high bandwidth memory to support its margins. So again, that report was actually pretty good. Cerberus got whacked on that, but we'll see where it hangs in and if it has the strength to bounce there. Now, okay, we've got 4 minutes until we get to our PPI print. We also have our guest coming up then. I think I've got one more story that I want to go through here. I'm actually going to pick the Netflix story just to make sure I have enough time to get through this. We get asked about Netflix all the time. We talk about this all the time. You might as well know what's going on here. Bill Ackman's Pershing Square re-enters Netflix. And this is interesting because this is 4 years after they lost more than $400 million on it. And they also said that Netflix has won streaming wars. So you'll have to let me know, is this a good investment or is this a revenge trade for one that didn't go well the first time around? And actually, let me actually go to this story because I think this one's a little bit more interesting than the other NVIDIA story. Billionaire investor Bill Ackman is returning to Netflix, taking a 3.15 million share position 4 years after his $400 million loss. The new position represents 4.9% of Pershing Square portfolio and reflects Ackman's renewed confidence that Netflix has emerged victorious in the streaming wars. In early 2022, Pershing Square invested over $1 billion in Netflix, only to exit months later with a loss exceeding $400 million when the company reported its first subscriber decline in decades. However, Ackman has shifted his stance. According to Pershing Square's interim financial report for the 6 months ending June 30th of 2026, the firm re-entered the company with renewed conviction. Quote, Netflix has since effectively won the streaming wars, end quote. That came from Pershing Square. The hedge fund anticipates financial momentum, adding, quote, we expect Netflix to compound revenue at a double-digit growth rate, with content costs growing more slowly than revenue driving continued margin expansion, end quote. We'll see. They have a content problem. While Netflix acquisition highlights the 2026 reshuffle, it was just one of 6 major additions. The firm disclosed new stakes in Visa, ticker V, MasterCard, ticker MA, S&P Global, ticker SPGI, and Intercontinental Exchange, ticker ICE, and Alcon AG, ticker ALC. Despite these new acquisitions, Pershing Square top 2 holdings remain unchanged. Microsoft, ticker MSFT, remains the fund's largest position, with 1.52 million shares accounting for 12.4% of the entire portfolio. Uber Technologies, ticker UBER, follows as the second largest holding, representing 12% of the portfolio with 7.63 million shares. Meta Platforms, ticker META, sits in third with 913,501 shares. Pershing Square capitalized on what it perceived to be a market dislocation. The firm noted that Netflix's current valuation multiple represents a substantial discount, end quote, allowing the fund to acquire a premium business at an attractive price. And so you tell me what you think has Netflix, well, let's just start with that. Has Netflix actually won the streaming wars? Are they actually over, or is there still more to go? And are you liking what Ackman's doing here? Are you interested in investing in Netflix? Have we moved low enough yet in Netflix? I know one of the things that we were talking about, if we go back to Pro here, was we kind of expect Netflix to move lower and find a support level a little bit lower than where we're at. I think we talked about maybe even a 60 handle, right? The 63 area. Yeah, 63 to 65. This represents the top of a channel as well as a little bit of a consolidation area. And we came back into this area, but kind of bounced off of it. Right now, it looks like we're struggling there with the 50-day moving average. Now, Izzy, I was wondering if you were going to be here today. I picked this story for you. Izzy says, Netflix, I'm buying dips. Okay, so it looks like you like that there. All right, now, I think our PPI is out. No, I do see the SPY moving here. Let's do that, then go to our guest. See what what sense we can make of this. Excuse me. U.S. PPI month over month for July, 0.0% versus a 0.2 estimate. So a 0.2 estimate. We're actually lighter than that. Market, at least initially, went higher here. U.S. continuing jobless claims, 1777 versus the 1800 estimate. U.S. initial jobless claims, 209K versus the 202K estimate. Prior read was 200K. U.S. initial jobless claims prior revised from 199 to 200. And U.S. PPI month over month for July revises the prior from a negative 0.3 to a negative 0.1. So there is your PPI print. Tell you what, if we take a really quick look at the SPY, it looked like it wanted to go higher there initially, but basically came right back down to where we started. Here's what it looks like inside on the SPY. We were drifting a little bit lower. Then the PPI came out, took us up to 774.50, and we're pretty much right back to where we started. So we'll see if this ends up causing the market to move here today. Looks fairly in line, very similar to the CPI print that we ended up getting yesterday. So we'll see what this does here. Ed mentioning that the IWM is moving lower on this. Here's what the IWM looks like. It did break that kind of low that we were holding from right before the print. But honestly, this doesn't look like it's breaking down. So definitely something to keep your eye on here with the IWM. Okay, that pop did get sold off quick. But again, let's let it settle here into the open, and then let's see what happens at the opening print. It is worth noting, I showed you the SPY ticker, but it is worth noting that the S&P futures basically rolled right back down to the VWAP and held there. So far, S&P futures holding VWAP. We'll see if that continues. All right. We've got guest number one here today. I'm pleased to bring back our friend Henry Schwartz, VP of Derivatives Market Intelligence at the Cboe Global Markets. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Henry, good morning, my man. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. The heat wave is over in New York City, so it's gorgeous out there.
Okay, good. Yeah, look, we've been through several heat waves, it feels like, here in Chicago, and they were miserable. So I'm happy for you. Glad the weather is nice there. We got a lot of rain here. Speaking of rain, looks like we got a PPI print here that might put a little rain on the market. We'll see if that brings us in anymore, but trading a little bit lower since we had that there.
We got a lot of room to come in. So, this market has just been on fire. Like,
yeah,
literally.
It sure has. It sure has. Okay, let me just start off here real quick. From your point of view, how's the year going? I know you just kind of talked about the market raging into this print here, which is fine. But from your point of view, like year to date, we're more than halfway through the year. We're approaching the fall. More importantly, we're approaching the football season. But I digress. What do you think of the market here this year? What's outperforming? What's underperforming? And if you have an opinion, what do you think happens the rest of the year?
Most people that I talk to are blown away by kind of the small cap outperformance, specifically like, the Russell 2000 and, IWM is the ETF that tracks it. We're up 22%. And I remember in the first few weeks of the year, I believe S&P was kind of flat for, the couple weeks in January, maybe the month of January, up 1% or 2%, but Russell was up 7%. And I was talking with my colleague, Mandy Zhu, who writes a weekly, piece on my team, and she said, this doesn't usually stick around. We see Russell kind of get ahead, and then people get a little more interested in kind of the high profile tech names, some of the super caps, which we saw, but Russell has just continued to outperform. It's up 22% year to date, almost 23%. S&P is up 13% year to date. So I think most people are pretty surprised by the performance. We do have, the price of oil is got everybody stressed out, but not the market, especially, and we see basically kind of a pretty tame VIX, and, as the numbers keep coming out, the market just kind of keeps shrugging things off. So, it's for the last, couple of data points, it's been, bad news is good news, because it means maybe, the rates won't be going up as soon as people were afraid of. And uh, it's just there's a lot of kind of FOMO out there as well, and that's what we see in the option space, in a number of different ways.
Yeah. Now, do you think that rate discussion and all of that, do you think that's contributing to the IWM outperforming here? I know there's like a lot of bluster and talk about raising rates and inflation being a persistent problem. And I'm not sure that raising rates into a supply side problem is the answer just to begin with. And I'm just wondering here if you think that the IWM is kind of sniffing out that, yeah, you know what? I don't think we are going to have any rate raises this year.
Well, I mean, that's the lower interest rates, are very helpful to these, kind
Sure.
of higher, these businesses require, bigger capital to operate. And yeah, the Russell is saying that if there really was if the market really was anticipating higher rates, you would be seeing it in Russell. So and it's kind of been that way all year, which is pretty interesting. So I do tend to trust the market. It's a little better than a lot of the kind of commentary, and certainly you also
Mhm.
have a lot of the interesting dynamics with the new Fed, and the way the messaging has gone with that. So it doesn't feel like we're kind of a, a hike sideways.
Yeah, and that the whole Fed issue,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother conundrum. We're still kind of, learning about the new Fed chair and all of that. Look, we have some graphics here that you had sent over. We'll go ahead and put them on the screen here. Hopefully you can walk us through them. Here's the first one. This just shows your Russell performance. Henry,
So
can you
yes,
hear me?
I can hear you. It's a little spotty. Let me know if you lose me. What we're
No,
looking at
you
here
sound
is
fine on my end.
okay, great. This is simply the year-to-date performance of Russell Q's and SPX, and XSP is just SPX divided by 10, and because the units are a little bit closer to the SPY ETF that a lot of people are used to. That's why I used XSP, and there's options that are available on it. But you look at that outperformance of Russell really from the get-go, just kind of blows your mind. And then this is as of I believe 2 days ago. You know, great performance in equities in general, right? And you've been talking about kind of it's been an interesting cycle. We had kind of the AI, I would call it a little bit of a frenzy, and then a pullback, and some of the stories out there. But that's still a big, strong, theme this year. But really looking at the performance of these small caps is kind of the standout. And it's also really interesting. You see that dip down in Qs. That really is the kind of the shock that we had in some of these high flyers. It was only a month ago,
Yeah.
but the bounce has been strong. I believe Qs were up almost 8 or 9% in a week. So, it's this market is pulling people in. You can't afford to not be invested, and I think it warrants a little bit of caution, especially as we go into the kind of the whatever the last third of the year or so. Um,
Mhm.
but it's been a great year to own equities, and that kind of continues the theme we've seen literally, going back to really 2019, with the exception of 2022, which most people kind of got through because 2021 was so strong.
Yeah, what's interesting here about the performance too, one of the things that we talk about here on this program and again in the afternoon program as well, we talk a lot about seasonality. And July had like really positive seasonality stats going like back, I think like 11 years or something like that. The seasonality sample we normally look at is 10 years, but this actually even exceeded that. However, this July was relatively mundane. We didn't really get that to play out here. Is there anything maybe under the hood that kind of alludes to that or anything?
Hey, I mean, we'd been kind of in a very sideways, choppy market for a while. It kind of felt like that for 2 months. At the same time, there were plenty of headwinds, and I think that people might have just kind of sentiment can change very, very quickly. Fortunately, there's a lot of instruments out there, whether it's options, ETFs, structured products that let people kind of quickly move their capital around to change. When their view changes, people get defensive very, very quickly.
Mhm,
Also,
mhm.
there have been it's even in the spring we were hearing plenty of kind of rumblings about valuations getting kind of ahead of what kind of historically has made sense. Um, So I think people were kind of bracing for a little bit of a pullback, and we got it, but it was very, very brief. I mean, we've seen, most of the last kind of, I wouldn't even call them corrections. I suppose, if we get down, 8, 9, 10%, I guess that is technically a correction. But, the buyers are out there waiting, and, there's a
Yep.
lot of capital on the sideline, and people really do jump right back in.
Yeah, and it's the other thing is like even despite that sell-off, we're not actually seeing money leave the market. We're seeing it rotate. I actually think that the chart that you have on the screen here right now shows that. Now, the follow-up question that I have here is what can we expect for August? Because I just talked about the July seasonality. We really didn't get what we thought there. August, it really seems like the volume is just extremely low. I mean,
Yeah.
we look at SPY shares traded on a daily basis. It's under the 100-day average, which has steadily been coming down throughout the course of the year. What are we expecting for August? Back to school, start of the football season.
Well, what we're looking at here is the XSP, okay, which is SPX divided by 10,
Mhm.
uh, against its historical volatility. So the implied versus the historical volatility. As you said, it's gotten really quiet out there. We had an option volume day, I believe, under 60 million contracts. I believe Monday or Tuesday. Compared to this year's basically averaging closer to 72 million. And so, um, I don't know if it's people kind of, taking the end of the summer off.
Mhm.
The fact that the market's up, it's double digits across the board. I think it really is kind of calmed some people. They're not quite out there bracing for any sort of move. And also I think the market has gotten very used to kind of the news cycle, and despite the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is still a big uncertainty. The market just seems to be comfortable with the expectation that things will smooth out.
Mhm.
So these panics that we've had, they've been. I wouldn't even really call them panics. I would call them moments of concern that pass pretty quickly. So as we go back into September, there is certainly traders know that September, October can be rough for the market. We're coming in with pretty lofty levels in terms of returns. So you may see a little bit. We have room to come back 5, 6, 7% and still be up pretty solidly year to date. So the chart we're looking at now is an interesting one. So in the options world, we talk about put call skew. We talk about level of volatility, but that just kind of tells you how big the market swings are expected to be. In
Mhm.
terms of sentiment, we kind of look at the price of calls versus the price of puts at an out of the money level. And what I did here is basically tally up the number of stocks that had call skew that implied a higher upside probability than a downside probability. And in general, markets, people talk about, markets take the escalator up and the elevator down. So, market trudges higher, and then, every once in a while we get a correction or even a crash. Um, the way options are pricing, they're basically the focus is on the upside. And it's really interesting
Hmm.
because that has been the right kind of position for the last few years. So the question is this kind of a moment of exuberance, or is this really the market just saying, look, stocks are going up and we're very comfortable with that? Um, when the number, what we're looking at now is basically half of the stocks that you can trade options on that are liquid and over $2 are kind of pricing in this higher upside. You can actually look at it sector by sector, and it's very noticeable in some of the consumer names and materials names and energy. Energy, it kind of makes sense because if there's a crisis, those stocks tend to do well. Um, but we are kind of at a pretty extreme level. In fact, it's similar to what we saw during COVID, when in that situation, the market exploded higher. And in
Mhm.
hindsight, everybody can look back at it and say, well, there was so much capital flowing. Of course, it was going to go higher. At the time, everybody was kind of freaking out a little bit. So, we're kind of back there in terms of the market is posturing for a pretty strong continued upside into the rest of the year. And, if I had to pick, I would be cautious, but I would still be bullish.
Okay, and I was just going to say, how you kind of answered my question right there. How can we take advantage of this going into the end of the year? Are there any specific things that we're kind of looking at for plays going into the end of the year?
Well, I mean, what I tend to tell my relatives is, you want to be in something pretty broad-based. We're talking
Mhm.
about, the market, whether it's SPY or IWM or Qs, that really should be the core position for most people. But when you get this current configuration where upside calls are really in demand, and the truth is volatility is relatively low. VIX is around 15 right now, so
Mhm.
that's low, historically at least. Call spreads can be really interesting. So simple vertical call spreads where you buy an at the money call and you sell a call that's, say, 5-10% out of the money.
Mhm.
Basically, that out of the money call offsets the price of the one that you're purchasing, takes the price of that structure down, can cut it in half in a lot of cases. And when that upside call price is higher, you're getting more for that one that you're selling. It's this vertical call spread is it's actually the most common complex order that we see in the option space. And so what we're looking at here is among the 500 most active single stock options. These are stocks that basically have that upside call skew at the most extreme end over the year. So you're looking at American Express or Delta, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo. I was looking at XYZ, which is H&R
Block.
Block.
Yeah. Oh,
That one actually is pretty interesting to me. Stock's a little bit it's kind of up there, in terms of kind of its 52-week range. You were talking about Netflix earlier. That one's kind of at the bottom end of its 52
yep.
week range. Um, but so I like using option spreads tactically, taking a small position, and with a vertical call spread, you pretty much can buy it. You're laying out some premium, but there's not a lot to do once you own the strategy. You just kind of let it work, and then if the stock continues to lift, you have some upside exposure. It's capped by your upper strike,
Mhm.
but that's kind of the whole point. You're not paying nearly as much just for the outright call, and that the option that you're short kind of offsets some of the time decay as well. So it's not a position that kind of bleeds a little bit of value every day as a outright option. Kind of would be a little bit more noticeable.
Yeah, the thing that stands out off, right, it jumps off the page for me here. A lot of financials here, right? American Express, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, XYZ, that's Block, that's the payment processor. And then FLG, that's, I think that's Flagstar National Bank, if I'm getting that one right.
I think so.
Bank of America, Capital One. Is this kind of indicative of maybe financials having a strong end of the year here?
Well, that's an interesting one, right? Because financials kind of do better when rates are a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But I think that what we've seen, especially coming out of earnings, is earnings have been strong across the board, especially trading earnings. From some of the kind of bulge bracket Wall Street banks. I think the market's looking at these names and saying, look, this economy seems very solid, and despite the fact that there's a lot of turbulence, there's kind of a lot of kind of uh, things to be concerned about going on in the world. The U.S. market continues to be kind of the destination for capital. We've been talking about this for years.
Yep.
We're the envy of the world when it comes to markets. But you see things like even the ADR listing for SK Hynix, like that was a Korean stock. It was already tradable in Korea, but they came to the U.S. and said we want to have it easy for U.S. investors, and that continues to kind of drive things. And I'm not exactly sure why financials, are kind of dominating this upside skew. But with options, when you kind of look at things this way, you can basically then go price out these call spreads
Mhm.
and basically find kind of a risk reward situation that you like, where maybe you're risking $2 to make $10 on a $10 spread, and it makes those trades pretty attractive.
Yeah, this is okay. This is really good stuff. Really insightful too. I think this volatility skew slide. I think this one surprises me the most. Henry, thanks so much for joining us. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover? This was great.
No, thanks for taking the time, and I think it will be interesting going into September. As I said, sentiment can change pretty quickly. Right now, we are seeing kind of overwhelmingly bullish sentiment in the market,
Yep.
and my kind of view on that is I want to kind of take advantage of that. I'm not going to fade it. I'm also not going to go all in, but I'm going to look for these opportunities where the option pricing is pretty attractive. And if there's big buyers of these out of the money calls, and that's what drives up that upside skew, there's ways to also have a long view, but kind of sell into that. So it's an exciting time to be trading.
Yeah, no, it really is, and I'm excited to see what the end of the year brings for us here. As you're talking about, the options telling us people are bullish. September's traditionally one of our weaker months, as I had mentioned earlier about the July seasonality. That's normally positive. We didn't really get that, so maybe we get something a little bit different this year. Should be interesting. But really good breakdown here, Henry. We really appreciate that. Folks, Henry, smash up the like. Henry Schwartz, VP of Derivatives Market Intelligence at the Cboe Global Markets, joining us here early. Henry, thanks for getting up with us. We appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks a lot.
All right. That is Henry Schwartz. Really good stuff there on what's going on with this market. So awesome. We'll see if we do get some of the bullish move into the end of the year there. Henry came with some ideas there for you using some of the options to capture that. So really good stuff there. Really, really good stuff there. All right. Let's get back to Pro. Let's take, what happened here, producer? Oh, there we go. Let's go ahead and share my screen. And I think one of the things, so we got Adam Mesh joining us pretty soon for Pre-Market Pulse. I think one of the things we can probably do right now, let's take a look at the Ondas report. Ondas, I'll be honest with you. I read some of the chat earlier. You guys had me tripping. I read the chat earlier. I saw yikes. I saw a big pull. I saw all this stuff. Ondas down 2.3% on the back of its earnings report. It actually looks like it's trying to trade back up here too. We're 50 plus cents off of the lows. Let's take a look at the headline, then we'll dive through the actual report here itself. So right there on the headline, EPS misses. So a 19-cent loss, missed the 5-cent loss estimate. Sales beat, though, and beat nicely, beat almost by 20 million. Their guide here, 525 to 550 million versus an estimate of 509. So guidance is up. That should be good going forward. Pro forma backlog, 757 million, cash equivalents, 1.4 billion. Hopefully they won't need to raise again. Obviously, they've got a backlog there. Let's take a look at some of the details here of the report. Get the chart back up here. Perfect. All right, let's take a look at some of the details of the report. I know the question everyone has is, was it good? Operationally, this looks like a very good report. Financially, it's still high risk. That we know. I've been talking for over a year at this point now about how what's the most important here is that Ondas is actually able to execute. It's great that we hear about all these acquisitions and the PRs about what they're going to do and what the TAM is and all of this other stuff. That's great, but it actually needs to execute. And at least on the surface here, it sure looks like that's the case. Ondas is showing extraordinary growth, bookings, and liquidity, but remains deeply unprofitable. And I'll tell you something else. The other thing is, we're kind of having this shift in some of the AI names, worry about how much they're spending and whether or not things are profitable or not. Part of me has been wondering if that's going to bleed into some of these other areas. And it sure, I guess, based on the reaction here, you could say that it bled here into the drones. It's acquisition heavy and it's got substantial dilution and accounting complexity. Here's what was good. Revenue acceleration is real and dramatic. So Q2 revenue of 83.8 million, that is a 67% increase sequentially from the 50.1 million and a more than a 13x year-over-year increase. So right off the top here, the growth that we've really kind of been paying for and hoping to see, so far we're getting that. Bookings are exceptionally strong, 175 million of Q2 orders plus 105 million captured early in Q3 means at least 200 million in orders in a little over 1 quarter. So that confirms our demand. So growth good, demand good. We already talked a little bit about the backlog, reported backlog of 613 million as of June 30th, 757 million pro forma, including the design and Cyberhawk. For a company guiding to 525 million to 550 million for 2026 revenue, that is meaningful revenue visibility. The backlog is not the same, obviously, but that's still good. Guidance was raised materially. The balance sheet has actual liquidity on it, so maybe we won't see offerings going forward. We really need to bring Eric back here and ask him about that. The GAAP operating loss, that was obviously very poor. I apologize. I'm just kind of going through some of the notes that I have here. Income statement is not yet healthy. Q2 GAAP expense numbers are usually distorted by non-cash items. That's what's happened here. Oh, let's see. Yeah, cash and investments of 1.4 billion create a substantial runway. That actually sounds great. The company has funded acquisition and capacity expansion ahead of expected program deliveries. That means they should have the capacity to meet these demands, which is also great. The company's 1.4 billion in reported liabilities includes a 1.04 billion warrant liability. This is primarily an accounting liability tied to outstanding warrants, not equivalent bank debt, but it can cause major non-cash earnings volatility and reflect complicated capital structure. Okay, so that's one more thing. I guess maybe they can make that a little bit more transparent or clean up. Reported growth is spectacular. Q2 revenue 13x, which we already talked about. So this is a good quarter. My read on this is that this is a good quarter, for at least from all of these stats here. I know we're down 2.25%, but gosh, guys, look at the Cerberus report. That thing's down nearly 20%. Nearly 20%. It's promising growth here. The business quality is good. The financials are well funded, although it's not financially mature yet. The backlog quality is good. Good report, not totally clean. I'll be honest, I obviously would have rather this traded up, and I'm looking for, you guys kind of commented on it earlier, really looking to break that 9 to 11 range. I also have pretty stiff resistance up here at 12 that I'd like to break. But honestly, just kind of looking through the report, this looks good. And it actually looks like they're doing what we hoped they were doing, right? They're not just buying all of this stuff and seeing nothing from it. They're actually seeing growth from it. They're seeing revenue from it. They're executing on all of this. Now, the next question is, it's got to get profitable. I think the next step here, conference call is in progress. We'll see if anything comes out from the call. When the transcript is ready, I'll kind of parse that and let you know what I see from that as well. If I can't get to it today, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow, or even on happy hour for those of you that are pro members. Okay, so all right, so it's not going to be a huge move higher here, at least not yet. And let's see, where do we finish on the daily here? So we're basically, okay, good. So, all right, so this is the other thing, and we talked about this yesterday on happy hour. Someone that's not into the stock like I am was taking a look at the daily chart yesterday and said, gosh, this setup is awfully attractive. Right, we kind of formed a bottom here, 665, kind of tested that same area. Then we recaptured the 50. We traded along the 50 for a few sessions, recaptured the 100. We've kind of traded sideways along the 100. Now we're effectively back testing that. We haven't traded beneath that. That value, by the way, 925. So it actually looks like we peaked beneath that and recaptured it. If we can hold this area here, I certainly think 1036, that volume point of control, would be next. That actually lines up quite nicely with the big volume shelf that we see there. And then maybe 12. I know we also talked about 9 to 11 in there, so probably find some resistance up there at 11 if we get higher. But then ultimately 12, and then ultimately a trend line break. I've got that in a 13 handle at the moment. So my read on this, not terrible. Seems like a good report. It seems like they're continuing the way that we had hoped, but down 3.5% here. So we'll see where this goes here today. See how this ends up trading. Let's go through the chat here real quick. It was up 6% 30 minutes ago. Yeah, well, that's the thing about the stock market. It changes from time to time. So 15, 30 minutes, that'll make a big deal. Crispy Biscuit is Andas's EBITDA. Is it improving? No, adjusted EBITDA worsened in Q2 despite the revenue growth. Management said it's guiding for its improved sequentially, or guiding for it to improve sequentially in Q3 as revenue scales, but it remains a forecast rather than a demonstrated result. So the Crispy Biscuit, that'd be another good thing to watch from future reports here. Does that EBITDA actually improve? Okay. Got just about a minute here until, you know what we'll do, because we lose some of the time on movers. Let me just go ahead and start with that. When we get Adam and or 13, we'll bring them on and we'll start talking about some of the other stuff here. A couple of movers that you folks are mentioning, XHG and FGI, they happen to be the top two movers on the movers tool here. FGI reported earnings here this morning. You can see that, or was this yesterday? Might have been yesterday after hours, beg your pardon. Yeah, it in fact was yesterday after hours. FGI Industries, adjusted EPS of 60 cents beat the 43 cent estimate. Sales missed slightly there, but they sales guidance, never mind. Sales guidance was in line. This stock up 90%. I wonder what it is in here. We would have to go through the report and maybe even break down the transcription there in the conference call, but something is obviously really good here. This is driving it higher by 90%. Only 4% of the float shorted, so I'm not sure this is necessarily a short squeeze scenario. The float is small, though. 522,000 is what I have there on FGI. This also, by the way, this is a supplier of kitchen and bath products. I'll be honest with you. I think that this pop here, this is a little bit surprising. I would definitely be careful with this one, but a really decent move here. Let me see if I have any fair value gaps on this chart. Yeah, we had one right in here, didn't we? Yeah, it looks like it. So right in here, we had a nice little fair value gap, although that one got hit and it went higher. So that's no longer unmitigated. Looks like it's kind of slowing down here at 9. I don't know. I think FGI is up because folks are desperate for a win this week. Okay, well, there you go. It is definitely low float, so it clearly seems to be moving just from being low float and then also having its earnings report. Now, XHG, this is Exchange Tech. This is a Chinese stock. Looks like this traded up to 18 and came all the way back in. It's still up 580%. Oh, and we have news here. Fantastic. Exchange Tech announces a non-binding letter of intent to acquire a Hong Kong-based AI tech company, First Cycle. And of course, no terms are disclosed there. Okay, so this one might be our kind of, let's see, Chinese Ripper du jour, I guess we could call it. I would be careful as all hell with this stock as it's up 580%. I got no short interest, literally 641 shares held short. And that is of our new read that we got on some of the short interest there. Not a short squeeze. Float here, 46.6 million. On average, the stock trades 28,000 shares. But today, on the letter of intent, it's traded almost 28 million shares. So GG, folks. Stock is up 550%. Here's what the chart looks like. Be careful. Be careful on this one. This thing looks absolutely crazy. All right. I promised you multiple guests, so we're going to deliver. Let's welcome on Adam Mesh. Oh, my gosh. Producer, okay, it's rant. Adam, I'm sorry. First of all, thanks for joining us, Adam. It's great to see you. But I'm going to rant for a sec here, if you don't mind. Restream, you have got to stop changing dumb shit. Please stop changing stuff. The little pop-up that lets me know that someone's in the back literally blocks me from being able to put their camera on here. So, Adam, I'm sorry I didn't have you ready to go. Rant over. How you doing today?
Wow. I'm good. Yeah, excited to be here. Fermi had earnings. Didn't really move on the earnings, so non-event there.
But Fermi had something else.
New CEO.
How about that?
Yeah. But it didn't move. We didn't get them. They release. They didn't give us time to each move to be a surprise. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting. I'll take where it's at. It looked like it was going to sell off an hour ago and came back up. But
I'll tell you what. To me, it sure seems like this $8 level is going to be key. I actually wouldn't even be terribly shocked if this traded up and tested that here today.
Yeah, I'll take it. We'll
see. All right. Well, we've got some new stuff for you here today. And I definitely want to bring 13 on and talk about some of this and maybe one of the new themes here. But I do want, first of all, how was Tony Batts yesterday? How did it go?
Oh, it was great. He should be about a guy you'd most likely want to hang out with by the pool on vacation. He's just like high energy, fun to talk to, strong presence. he's become, it seems like, a little bit more of an investor in terms of his approach. He still does the daily trades, but he was talking about like some long-term stocks. So
what does he like long-term? Just out of curiosity.
He was going over like SanDisk and NVIDIA, like nothing like off the radar like we're looking for. Yeah. Okay,
but plenty of people are still looking for SanDisk. And is his thoughts that the highs are in for the year? Or does he think there's another trade there?
I didn't ask him that. Tom, last time I talked to him, thought highs were in for the summer is what we discussed.
Okay.
I guess it's going to be September now, so we got to reevaluate that. I don't see us going through new highs over the next couple months. Like, it just seems like the rally keeps losing legs the higher we go, like more tired at the top of this hill. That's what it feels like to me. Like, I don't know. Do you see NVIDIA post earnings going to like 250?
No. Well, okay. So I would say the caveat here is, could it? Sure. I don't think so. That's not kind of what I gather from NVIDIA here. And I'll actually take this a step further. This is something else that we discussed yesterday. I think NVIDIA could really be that kind of linchpin event that determines what direction this market ends up going. You just kind of talked about the rally feeling tired here. I think the best way to look at that is just to kind of use the SPY daily chart. We've basically just, like, I know we've recently pushed into a new high, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels kind of boring. It feels kind of sideways. And I wouldn't be surprised if NVIDIA is like that last shoe to drop, good or bad or otherwise.
I got to tell you, Ryan, I think I'm becoming more of a contrarian. Like, the plays that seem to be working out for me the best are the ones where there's a whole lot of bad news and everyone's exiting, and I look to get involved. So like Owl Rock earlier this year when they were talking about private credit and everyone was hitting
Blue Owl? Is that?
Yeah, Owl Rock. It used to be called Owl Rock. Blue Owl. Okay. So that the stock, I got involved in the stock at like 9. And now it's at 12. And it was more, though, everyone hated it. So I was like, all right, I'll buy it. And I started selling calls against it. And now same thing with Fermi. They had no tenant. They had no CEO. The stock's at 580. All of a sudden they have a tenant. They have a CEO. Stock's at 750. And so where I find myself having trouble with the stuff that could really explode, I think a lot of the explosive moves like Micron, all those stocks, it's happened. Intel, everything. I'm now maybe trying to look for the things where like something's beaten up, but it could come back. I'm looking for a good comeback story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wiss here from the chat. You could also look at good news and when the stock tanks. So
I think that's actually the most dangerous situation. When the good news comes out and stock starts going down, that's where I stay away, because it's like that means sellers were just like waiting for any opportunity to get out.
Good point there. All right. Is there any stock in particular that you want to take a look at here today? Anything on your radar?
No, the only thing I'll say is like a premium play for the options traders out there. How many, by the way, are options traders? Because I know it's mixed here. Are there a lot?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see the chat light up. Who trades options? Yes or no?
Give me a 1 in the chat if you trade options regularly.
Yeah. So I was at a dinner and someone told me they liked the stock Borg Warner. It's kind of like an old stock, been there. I didn't even realize it went down after they told me. I was talking to Tony about it. I was like, yeah, someone gave me this stock. It's been good. I sold puts. I got the stock. He goes, well, if you got the stock, then they were wrong. And I was like, oh, yeah. So I didn't even realize the stock's gone down like 5 points since I got involved, because I sold puts for more. So I'm up in it. And then I sold calls against it. And I really like the premium in it. And it's sitting in that 60-70 range. So it was a premium collection play. It's a conservative thing, but I like selling premium in this BWA. Okay.
All right. And by the way, I don't know if you took a look here, but the chat is flooded with 1s. In fact, I haven't seen a single 2.
There we go. So yeah. All right. So there's
tons of options.
There's a good premium collection play in Borg Warner. It's not as exciting as some of the stuff we talk about, but
hey, that's okay. Look, green is exciting to me. I don't need something to be, like a 90s action flick to be excited. If I'm making money, I'm excited about that.
Is there a worse stock under $10 than Snapchat? Is there anything more disappointing than Snapchat? Like, could anyone hate a stock more than that stock? Honestly, like from now on, bad stocks should be rated on a Snapchat scale in terms of never gonna rally.
I'm trying to think. I'm struggling here. I mean, I could think of some microcap junk fraud names, but that doesn't count. As far as like real companies and real products, this stock absolutely sucks. And I am glad. I'm glad to hear you say that because I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get the product. I think the stock's terrible. Can it rally? Doesn't look like it. It looks like all rallies are just head fakes.
We need to have like an episode where we do like best and worst stocks of the year, and like nominees would be like Beyond Meat, worst stock of the decade.
Oh, Beyond Meat! No. Beyond Meat. That's a good one. I'm embarrassed. We actually talked about that earlier this week, and I ripped on it earlier this week. I'm embarrassed I didn't come up with that myself. That one is worse. Mullen is worse.
I'll even throw Tilray into the ring as a
Tilray.
It just reverse splits and goes down. Reverse splits and goes down.
Yeah, we call that the money drain. We call that the money drain there. So, all right, we'll take a look at. I'll humor Lion Atlas here real quick. Lion Atlas is begging me to look at Jack because he bought it at $17.50 and it's up $1.20. So, good stuff there. It did report earnings here today. I don't know anything about this company. When I was a kid, really quickly, I heard about a terrible E. coli breakout at this place, Jack in the Box, that I'd never gone to. And I started to see them on road trips with my family, and my family just opted to never go to this restaurant because of that E. coli scare, which is now 2+3 decades ago. I have no idea. This is not something that I would buy. Lion, instead of saying, hey, just look at it, give me the bull case here. It's heavily shorted. 35.9%. That's correct. 9 days to cover. So we have a possible short squeeze here. Adam, what are your thoughts on short squeeze plays? Do you like them? Do you get involved with this? Do you look for them at all?
Yeah. One of my favorite things that I would look for on a short squeeze play, especially in the week sometimes, is if it does have options, especially if it's like the weekly or something, where the options are run out. They haven't added the new ones yet. Normally they will the next day. So if you can get a stock, Jack doesn't fit this criteria because it still has options to 32. But like, let's say Jack was being squeezed up to 22 and the options only went to 23.
Mm-hmm.
Then you realize that people who sold calls and stuff, like there's no more hedges. Like the hedges are off.
Interesting.
So it could run. So sometimes there's a situation where the new options haven't come in yet. And if it could overrun the last option or breach that last option, that's where I think it could become a really cool short squeeze play.
That's really cool. I've never thought about that. That makes a lot of sense hearing you explain that. That's a great little tip there. That is a great little tip there. Smash up the like for Adam and his tip there. I absolutely love it.
Good.
One more thing here on Jack. 13 in the chat is saying that Jack, impending golden cross coming here with the 50, maybe moving through the 200 to the upside. You have expanding volume. It looks like on the daily here. You have a high short interest. You have good earnings. Maybe there is something set up here for a squeeze play. Let's actually bring 13 on and see what he thinks about all of this. 13, good morning. Happy Wednesday.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Adam. How's everybody in the chat? Restaurants seem to have started to become, on the rise again. We saw that with, I think Dave & Buster's started turning around. We had Cake turn around. A lot of these restaurant names were all pretty heavily shorted. And Wendy's, they got a Nelson Peltz helping them out. But it seems like all these restaurants are just, they're highly shorted and they're turning around. So it's kind of a theme right now, it seems.
I bet I know one that isn't.
What?
Yep. Portillo's is still at the low. Adam, just FYI, a little context here. Portillo's a Chicago chain. I absolutely love it, or I have loved it. This is one of the worst stocks that I've ever bought. And I actually told people that I kind of liked this long term. I thought the store expansion was going to go well. Yeah, no. One of the worst CEO groups I've ever seen manage a stock up until recently. This stock just It cannot get out of its own way. I absolutely hate it. But
I'm surprised restaurants are doing well. I live in a place where a lot of people, and all around me, I think in the tri-state area, are taking the GLPs, and it's like the fun patrol has left. Like nobody eats. Everyone's down 30 pounds. They don't want to go out to dinner, have drinks, none of that. Like and it's a lot of people, and I feel like it keeps spreading. So I'm surprised restaurants are going up in the face of that. Alcohol's going down a lot.
It may just be a quarterly thing, because I think we're seeing reports from when we still had the World Cup on, and if you were seeing all the things that were happening on social media, people were going to all our restaurants and praising this and praising that. So there may be a little bit of that carried through here to their earnings. So I don't know if we're going to continue to see a revival in restaurants, but a lot of them are still turning back up. Cava just had their earnings yesterday, and they were up 14.25%. So
I believe they also said that they saw a boost from World Cup.
Oh, perfect.
In their report.
Yeah. So that's that's like I said, I don't know how long this is going to sustain. Maybe we'll find out if this is going to continue when they report next quarter. But I think that's mostly what we're seeing a lot of here. And good news for Cava. They really needed to turn around here because they were about to death cross. But those earnings and that 59 support area, that's turning them around. But they need to recapture some of those heavier moving averages.
I got a stock that fits into the way you guys look at things. Like, I think it will fit your normal morning segment. I'll throw out.
Let's do it.
Freight Technologies. I don't know anything about it, but I'm just looking for what I know you guys talk about. FRGT is up 50 cents. Oh, it's 11 million shares traded versus average volume of 235,000, market cap of 1 million. And then I'm just looking for this is the volume day. So today is the day. I don't know what's going on, but I'll grab some now.
We've traded this before. Okay, so you're actually grabbing this right now for a trade here today?
Oh, it's set to closing only. Won't let me buy it. Okay.
Oh, so it's restricted.
Yeah, it won't let me buy it. Okay.
Yeah, you can. By the way, we've actually discovered this. I don't know what broker you have, but with
Tasty,
Schwab,
you could call up. You got to call.
Yep. You can do the same thing at Schwab. So they just remove it. Apparently, they remove that restriction.
Now, is this a company that is getting tariff refunds?
I don't know.
Because if they report in 12 days, and the concern I would have is if they are getting tariff refunds, if that could end up being just a one-off.
Right.
So there's that. Now, when I'm looking at their float, I think this might have some more to do with why we're moving here this morning. Very low float, 560,000 shares, 61,000 shares almost, according to what we have here in Pro. So I think I would maybe attribute that to some of the wild price action we've already seen this morning, because we popped and then we spent about an hour selling back off. And we're back almost to where we started. So maybe this one gets some attention today. But I think I would be looking at this closer to the open, because it doesn't seem like right now it's doing a whole lot.
And by the way, to answer your question, no public evidence indicates Freight Technologies has received or expects a material amount of tariff refunds.
Okay, because I know that FedEx and I think UPS were starting to get those. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
So just
we talked about that too.
But nice move here this morning.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I feel like. I'm trying to fit in with the crowd in terms of what you guys are looking for.
Well, I got some that I could share with you.
Let's do it.
So because you had asked me, and I kind of threw a panic name out there at my Net Power, and because I still need to do a lot of work on that one. But one that I've been curious about, and I even asked Ryan if maybe asked Tim about it, was Resolve AI. And the interesting thing about this company is that they are experiencing some pretty good growth right now, and they only report 2 times a year because they're based in the UK. But what their last earnings report said was very interesting, and they expect let me just go to it, because they expect a significantly higher amount of revenue by the end of the year, and we should start to see a reflection of that in this upcoming quarter, this upcoming half when they report. It's looking like they're expecting 127 million, or roughly around there, and they reiterated the 360 million fiscal year 2026 revenue. That's a very significant increase over what they've been making recently. We just pull up their annual. Okay, so in 2024 they did about 2 million in revenue. In last year 5 million, and I'm sorry, not last year. In the last year they did 46 million, and now they're projecting to do 360 million. So I'm looking at their stock and wondering, this may be at a pretty attractive price if that's, what's going to end up happening. And there may be a valuation consideration here. So that's one name I'm looking at. But I think the really interesting stuff that we were looking at is what we talked about last night with regard to a resurgence of used cars and auto parts. Especially auto parts. It's looking like more and more people are starting to not want to buy new cars because they're just not well made. They're too expensive to insure. They're too expensive to finance. And
some of them have subscription programs.
Yeah, subscription programs, and they're way too expensive to fix. And these are machines that are not made with very high quality parts anymore. So you're going to see a lot more, of these newer vehicles in repair shops. But you're also going to see a lot fewer mechanics because the landscape from being a mechanic is not really great right now. It costs a lot of money to just even go through technical training. You have to buy your own tools, and then you have all these terrible new vehicles coming out that require you to literally pull out the entire engine so you can get to a bolt to replace, like an air cabin filter or something stupid like that. So that adds to the labor costs, and it's just this whole compounding thing that's really starting to turn people away from newer cars and having them go back to older vehicles. And I think that we're going to start to see a theme with that. And all you have to do is look no further than some of these car parts companies that are starting to turn around.
So Resolve, number one, it's in my portfolio that I run.
All right.
And we've traded it a bunch of times. I thought when it got added to the Russell that it would kind of hold its value. I think it got up as high as 7 or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I thought it would just kind of hold there with the Russell. I'm surprised it came off. So I'm glad to hear you say that it has the potential. I think the market cap's still $1 billion. That's probably what's, the current market cap's still $1 billion. But what I really like about the stock, and the reason why I trade it in the portfolio, is it's a $2 stock with options. So even if you went to like November and you wanted to sell the $3 call, you could sell it for 35 to 40 cents right now, which is crazy versus the value of the stock. So that becomes what I was talking about yesterday, one of those stocks where all you need is for it to stay in business for 2 years and you pay for it with your premium selling, or more likely it will run through your options and you'll get taken out for less of a profit. But this is the exact example I was talking about where a stock, you're just betting on it to stay alive because you could collect premium for a couple of years and you own it at zero cost basis. So even if it just sits there, like 30 cents on a $2 stock is really good.
Yeah. And I know that this hasn't been the greatest looking one. I mean, you've got look at the price action on this thing, but it's been going sideways for so long now. And I only started looking into this after they reported their last earnings. That got me all excited. Like, man, if they're going to actually put up those kinds of sales figures, then this might not be in the $2 handle for a whole lot longer. It might be higher, especially with that revenue growth.
Well, that's the thing. Like the revenue's inflecting, but is that going to continue? I think that's everyone's question here on this, probably.
Well, that's what we're going to have to find out with earnings. But they're guiding to have this fiscal year have like a 700+% increase in revenue. So if they deliver on that, then I don't think this is going to be down here for too long.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of Ondas in that regard, right? Where they had some of these higher forecasts in the future. Really, the question came down to, can they execute? So to your point, we'll see if they get that there from earnings and are actually able to do this. High execution, small cap AI name. I like this though. And and Adam, I love the structure there of $2 stock where you can just sell options against it. That's not bad either.
It's not until it goes to 7 and you hate me because you realize you capture profits, which is the negative. But
well, so buy some shares. Don't sell options against all of them, and if it goes to 7, you'll still be able to take gains on that. That's the way I would look at that.
Or you can do parts. Yeah.
All right, guys, we've got 6 minutes till we open here. Is there anything that either one of you or the chat wants to go over, take a look at, get prepared to go into the session here? I know we took a brief look at the top two movers, XHG and FGI. DFSC got mentioned by a number of folks in the chat. I saw that this was moving. Let me know if there's any of these that you want to take a look at. Oh, and how about this? Jay Rice is telling us that Beyond Meat is doing a reverse split effective today, 30-for-1.
So bad.
Oh
It's
my
so bad.
gosh, it is one of the worst companies I've ever seen.
And
30, did you see anything in the Fermi earnings that stood out, or kind of a non-event? Other than they got a CEO last night.
Yeah. So that could actually be one of the things that a lot more companies start to sign on for, because I think that was what's really was hanging up a lot of the big names. I think that's one of the reasons why we saw, I think it was Microsoft back out, because they didn't have a CEO, a permanent CEO. And now that we've got one, maybe we'll start to see a lot more of these hyperscalers come back in. That one deal with that capital company, I thought that was very interesting and gave me a little bit more confidence that they're going to be heading in the right direction. Because I was looking at what they did. Let me see, what was it? What was the name of that? Not TensorWave. That's the one they signed on with. Hillcore Energy Capital. That was the interesting thing here, because it accelerates their timeline for delivering energy, and that could bring in more tenants. So it's just, I thought it was interesting. I haven't read into the earnings. That's something I'm going to be doing today, but I like that we got our CEO finally. Right. One thing that when Brian gets back, he'll be able to put this up, but a name that I've been looking at on that theme of the vehicle, used cars and parts is Copart. This thing been absolutely smoked after having a double top last year. So it's starting to look like it's basing, and I'm a little bit interested in this one. I started nibbling. I got a market position to see if what it does, to keep an eye on it.
Which one is this?
Copart.
CPRT. That's my favorite of the automotive plays that you talked about for that theme.
And Veggie Girl was mentioning that car producers have made it so that they somewhat have, or so that they only have access to the computer, and the independent mechanic is being squeezed out. Yes, that's actually very true, and it's one of the reasons for the right to repair movement. And it's something that Apple's been doing. Third-party repair shops, you're going to see fewer and fewer of them, because these larger companies have a stranglehold on the supply chains. And they're basically telling the suppliers, don't sell to these people, you only sell to us. And then that way only customers can go and get their vehicles or phones or whatever devices repaired at that one location. That's why Ford's service revenue has been taking off lately, because you don't only repair there.
Yeah, Ford's definitely been a little more jumpy.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, my rant is over. Let's open this market. What do you say?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Any news on SMDK Investor Day? When is that?
I think that's today, isn't it?
Is it today? Okay.
Let me see. Let me see. Do we have a company event here? I don't have anything listed here, but let me go back and check that for you, though.
By the way, before we open and I jump off, I do want to say I love these. What's become like a morning meeting for me. Come on with you guys, get totally focused, eyes on the right place. Like I miss that in my life.
I can only speak for myself. I can only speak for myself, but I love it too. The way I look at this is that the more smart minds, the merrier, right? And so,
my favorite fantasy football podcast has 3 guys on it too.
There we go. Okay, which one is it, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
Fantasy Footballers. It's amazing.
Fantasy Footballers. Okay, I will listen to that. I will listen to
that. So funny. It's so funny.
You guys are gassing me up for the league now,
dude. Tonight. There's a game tonight. I know it's preseason. There's still a game tonight. I'm excited. Can you tell?
Well, I mean, if we get anything like the Hall of Fame game, let's just sign me up. Let's go.
Exactly. Oh, I can't believe how much scoring
that game, man. It's like they were playing for the Lombardi Trophy.
Well, the thing is that a lot of those second-tier players they're playing for their careers in the preseason.
Oh man,
All right.
that's crazy.
Adam, we can't thank you enough for joining us here today. I look for. Are we going to do this next week? Are you free next week?
Let's go. Okay. I love it. I'll hang out with you guys anytime. It's fun.
I love it too. You're awesome. We appreciate it, and definitely looking forward to some more juicy stock picks and option strategies too. Absolutely love it.
I'm gonna stay on and listen in the background and have fun. I'll talk to you later.
You can stay on here if you want.
Thanks for hanging with us, Adam. If you're jumping off. Oh, here we go. Let's go.
Boom. We are open.
All right.
All right. Here. And guys, just one more time, smash up the like for Adam Mesh, who's joining us, giving us some insight, talking about some of these stocks that he's looking at. It's awesome. All right, first move here. We're open. Ondas lower, broke 9. SPY pulling to the VWAP. S&P futures pulling to the VWAP. SPY's already at the VWAP. S&P futures have a little bit more to go. As far as the movers go here, and 13 could jump in at any time. DFSC continue. Did this halt?
Let me see here.
DFSC. This is going to halt here, I think, at 302. Halted. DFSC. Let me see if I got a time for you. Yep, DFSC halt 9:30:37. So we're looking at 9:35:37 for the unhalt there.
Okay, so yeah, that's. I didn't look and see what this one was doing here today or why it's up. Let me see. DefSec sounds like some kind of defense technology.
Ondas trying to recapture 9 and bounce. That would be a level to watch all day today.
Earnings. They had earnings.
ABCL, one of our movers from yesterday. This is actually above the pre-market high. This looks like this is trying to go a little bit more. CBRS starting hot, says Forsman. That was actually a good trade from yesterday.
There was another one we were looking at that was still up today. At least it was. What was it? It started with OFAL, OFAL. That one still went. It gave back like half the move yesterday, and then in the after hours it started getting going again. So it's higher than yesterday's close, but struggling with VWAP right now.
Okay.
Looks like FGI lost its VWAP, so that's probably coming down to the 65 EMA down near 735.
Okay, yeah, this actually looks like it's going to break its structure too and maybe go lower. 735, 13, I think you're spot on with that spot there. Lion Atlas wants to take a look at Jack. Ryan, should I cash out Jack? LOL. I would have trimmed as that moved up out of the open. What's your plan on this though? Was this a shorter trade? You're in options on this, aren't you? Did you buy this stuff? I can't remember what your trade is on this line. Got a nice little pop there though out of the open. 16%.
Look at
what
Ionic.
Does the daily look like on this? Sorry.
Look at Ionic.
Lion 23, a pretty stiff resistance area there on Jack. Trimming doesn't seem like a bad idea at all. Ionic, we also had inflection. We'll take a look at that too if you want.
Inflection's down. Ionic is pretty much the only one that's up. Continuum is sideways, it looks like. And what else?
Let me take a look at INFQ real fast.
Looks like we have a little bit of a recovery starting to happen in Bitcoin. Not a sizable one, but it's finding support since we opened.
I have the stock and I have call options. I would trim some of your options then, Lion. That's the way I would handle that, and maybe hold the stock for a longer move if you think that's possible. But you know, SPY. Okay, so that opening dip. Look at that. Excuse me, sorry about that. Opening dip to VWAP got bought. We printed new highs, 775. Gio, are you out there? What levels do you have here for SPY? Giovanni mentioning MBIS. What a move on MBIS. God, this had a great move yesterday and another move here today.
Yeah, it's killing it.
You guys are throwing out a lot of stocks here. This is awesome. NVIDIA straight up. I'm seeing a bunch of NVIDIA call buying, by the way. Lots of NVIDIA call sweeps. Also, XYZ, that was one of the notes that Henry gave us from earlier, seeing some call sweeps in that as well. I'll let you know if I see any of the other financials in there that he mentioned. And then you guys talked about IREN. You know what? I should have asked Adam about IREN. I can't remember. Has he traded this one before? I want to say that he has. IREN had some news here this morning. That was the impulse move. It basically popped above it. Let me recap that news for you.
This is hilarious. MBIS CEO said it could sell its entire 2027 capacity today following a 454% Q2 earnings surge. Top market strategist quips, "Close your ears, Michael Burry."
I love it. Look, I like when CEOs go after short sellers. I know Alex Karp rubs some people the wrong way, but that's nonsense. I absolutely love it. Your news here for IREN, they deliver the Horizon 1 to Microsoft and achieves NVIDIA exemplar cloud status. First of 4 50-megawatt deployments under $9.7 billion 5-year contract, and it achieves that NVIDIA status there. So IREN up 7.7% here. So we're seeing a lot of stuff trading up here, huh? SPY's at new highs. Ed's mentioning that IWM is going higher here. NASDAQ, the Qs are higher here.
BM&R, nice move out of the gate, running into some resistance at 1841. DFSC is open and going higher. 330 now the high, and a big pull. Continuation in SMCI. Well, I don't think they've had a new controversy yet, so that might still continue up until they do.
Okay. Sorry, I was just reading something there. Oh, by the way, DFSC is open. Looks like we went higher there, 349, and now we're pulling back beneath 3.
I just said all that.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm reading something on there. That's my fault. Thanks, 13.
No problem. Okay. So now we're halted the downside with FGI. The other one that was moving this morning, XHG, that looks like this is trying to hold VWAP kind of sideways since it had that wild move in the pre-market. But this one kind of looks like it's going to roll over too. Maybe we'll see. It may, because FGI is halted, it might get more people's eyes on this one, but we'll see.
CoreWeave is powering up. CRWV, that's also been on a good run here. SPY still at the highs, 776. So we're going for that all-time high. That was one of our key levels to the upside we mentioned at the beginning here.
Cooler has a new NASA contract.
Didn't they have earnings? It's after the close today. Sorry. So they're going to report earnings tonight. See if we get anything more on that.
XHG just had a pop up to 7, running into resistance. Now it's starting to go again. So this may start to move some more. It's going to go into a halt here, though.
FGI is halted.
Yeah.
To the downside. Here's your XHG. 690%. This is up.
QBTS is going up. NASDAQ is ripping like crazy.
He's right. We looked at it. We absolutely, a lot of stuff is ripping here, guys. So I'm sorry if I'm not getting to it. Here's your Qs chart. SPY still at the highs. I see several of you mentioning Hood. Hood was actually at an interesting spot with some of the moving averages there on the daily. Hood's ripping here to the upside. Tesla ripped to the upside. Tesla, I'm also seeing call buying on the back of that. SpaceX is trying to bounce. Interesting morning.
Yeah, and we have liftoff again with Velo. That's challenging 16. Ionic reaching 47.12. Let me look at QBTS, as that was mentioned.
QBTS.
Yeah, very similar chart to Ionic. And we see our news with, yeah, they were awarded. That was yesterday, though, in the morning. I don't see any recent news here from, or today, news from today on QBTS. It's kind of wild that we're starting to see cloud integration with quantum computing. and also quantum and space. That's starting to happen already, but we're still very early.
Very early. Oh, you mentioned OFAL earlier today, didn't you? Okay, so that had an interesting pre-market, but not doing a whole lot now. G-Man mentioning Broadcom straight up as well. Boy,
cool.
BE is up. Boy, this is a big risk on day.
And it's funny because we saw a lot of news like, oh, the AI market's priced to perfection. Now is the time to short. This and that. So I guess we're squeezing all those folks. XHG presence in the drum. I'm not sure I understand what that one means. Might be a gift though.
What is the XHG?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what he's. I think drum roll is what that.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I've just never, really spent the time to learn all the emojis and.
No, I feel you. G-Man saying best day in months so far. Let's go.
All right.
Let's go. Hood just touched 100. Alan, do you have a price target on Hood? Do you have like a spot that you think that's going to? Let me know.
Well, this is a nice day for Hood, getting over the 200 and the 50-day SMA. Let's see if we can hold above that.
I was just going to say, let me go to that bigger chart there because we had a conglomerate of moving averages that we really wanted to see Hood take out here. Let me zoom into it for you because we also have a resistance area not far above this as well. So here we go. Yeah. So this is exactly what you were just saying. We're above the 100. We're above the 200. We're above the 50. We did get a golden cross here recently. 13. Let me ask you a question here on Hood. Are you expecting this to continue to push up towards that 110?
Let's see here because I have a couple of areas of resistance that might be in the same spot. I would say maybe 115. That kind of looks like where we might end up going here if we hold those two moving averages that we're getting over right now. We're certainly not, in it with a high RSI, so I could certainly see this continuing to climb. There's a longer term trend line from the all-time high going through the July high. So if you want to give yourself a trend line there, that's one.
Got it.
The other one that I have here is much shorter term. This is from, you can start it from the low of June 9th, draw it through the low of July 17th, and just keep it going. When we lost this trend line, that was your indication that we were heading lower. We had a kind of a neutral candle on July 31st that it could be either a reversal or a continuation. It was a reversal, and we turned around, and now we're coming back up. So as we approach that smaller trend line that I just had you draw, I would expect there to be some resistance. And as we approach that level, we might end up getting there around the same time as that longer trend line.
No, you're absolutely right about that. That would be probably near the end of August, just before the NVIDIA's earnings. Interesting. Okay, good stuff there on Hood. Alan, there you go. I know you said you had no idea. Maybe we just gave you a possible target there for Hood if it continues to roll.
Yeah, it's got some,
Joe, sorry, really quick. Joe mentioning Hood doesn't seem to be slave to the Bitcoin price like it has in the past. Indeed. But I also still think that because there's such a big crypto following there on Hood, that I think if you get any, like for example, if we got good Clarity Act news, I actually still think Hood would benefit from that.
XHG halt down. Is it halted again to the down? Oh, okay, yeah. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't halted down to the downside initially. So it gave back that move. Still looks like this might end up going lower because now we're beneath VWAP. MACD looks like it's curling over. 65 EMA might be next.
And remember, at the beginning of when we were talking about some of the movers there, we were saying about XHG, be careful with this one. Thing is up 550% on no news earlier. So none of that's changed.
And now we got FGI trying to get some support from the 65 EMA. We're going to need to see some bigger volume here if this is going to turn around. And even if it does, who knows if it's going to get back above VWAP. We're going to have to get some really good volume in order to make its way back up through there.
Yep, just came right into that 65 EMA that we talked about. Yields moving meaningfully lower off of that print. That should be good for the rest of the day. I know we had this nice little move up there in the SPY and the Qs. We've backed off that a little bit, but I think this to me doesn't necessarily spell reversal here. We'll see what happens on VWAP test. Here's the Qs, by the way. I know we're kind of looking at technology here this morning. And just kind of glancing over here, Stills, Ionic call sweeps, Intel call sweeps. I'm just looking at some of the tech names. NVIDIA call sweeps. AAOI, Tesla, CoreWeave, MBIS. All of the tech players that you would guess, I've seen a lot of call activity on that here today. Just got a buy signal on the 0 DTE SPY call. The bot didn't take it, but I actually think I might have something wrong with my automated strategy. The signal's still good, though. JJ mentioning that Fermi is down. Maybe there will be a delayed reaction on that.
Yeah, it lost 7. And the 50-day SMA. Hopefully we don't have a TriStar Doji formation taking shape here.
That's a daily pattern, right? The TriStar.
You need 3 candles. So you could be on a daily. Usually you see them.
I see what you mean. Yeah, and this is the possible reversal pattern, right?
Yeah, okay. But that middle candle, maybe not so much. So we'll see what just happens here. We need this candle to finish forming, and we're still early in the day.
Okay. DFSC halt up. It sounds like. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing again. Sorry about that, folks. Here's DFSC halted at a new high there, 357.
Looks like this may end up going to 440.
Hey, 440 your target.
We're coming into some supply between pretty much wherever it's at, and this kind of goes up as high as $5, but there's a moving average, an EMA on a daily chart at the 200 right in the way there at 440 that we could end up popping up to and then coming back in. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
Okay. Selena saying Ryan and 13 include COHR. That's coherent. There is coherent. Yeah, indeed. This is actually recovering nicely too. In fact, you're looking at red green here on coherent coming up. By the way, still seeing NVIDIA trade up. The bot did take a trade here in NVIDIA. That's working, and I'm continuing to see call flow on the back of this. Here's what NVIDIA's chart looks like. My target here, 226.81 on NVIDIA.
Got Netflix up 3.3%.
Yep, that's on the Pershing Square purchase.
So
what do you think about what do you think about that? What do you think about Ackman taking a $400 million loss, declaring that Netflix won the streaming war in the face of the content problem that you and I have been talking about, and now reinvesting in it? Feels like a revenge trade almost to me.
Netflix didn't win the streaming war.
That's what he's saying. Those are his words, not mine.
Oh, yeah, I know. How did they win the streaming war? It seems like whoever ends up with Warner Brothers that pretty much wins the streaming war. Netflix doesn't have stuff. They barely got content, and the content they do have isn't great either. So I guess there's an argument to be made they won in some capacity with their reach and their early adoption, but it seems like the whole streaming space is just bloated, and people are cutting subscriptions left and right to the streaming services. I mean, it's at a much better price. Remember, we were looking for this to come down to 70, so it's fine if anybody wants to pick it up here. I think it's a great price, but they're going to have to really deliver on that content, and them having to raise prices and raise capital in order to do that isn't really inspiring confidence in me that they've got it together.
Yeah. So okay, so looks like 13. Not a huge fan of Ackman's buy there. Ackman got
I'm not a fan
of his
of
last Netflix buy, indeed.
I'm not a fan of this idea that Netflix won the streaming wars. I know that there's an argument to be made, and I understand that, but where they're at right now doesn't really feel like they're a winner. That's just my opinion, though.
No, I got it. That's what I was asking for.
Yeah.
All right. let's take a look. Jay, I saw that you were mentioning Dell earlier. Dell, Lenovo, HP, SMCI. Oh, I missed it there. I like paying on any weakness. Dell, nice little dip, and that's also bouncing. You were saying you like Peng, P-E-N-G, on any weakness. Let's look at that. Here's Peng, Penguin Solutions.
That looks like maybe some bottoming happening in Fermi. What else do we have here? We still have DFSC halted. Cooler holding above the VWAP. Cooler and D-Wave for some reason look very similar.
Bot took profit on the Nvidia trade.
Lots of these tech and names. Their price action. The ones that are up, the price action all looks very similar.
Look at CoreWeave. This went right to 116 and backed off it a little bit.
Dell was sub 400 a week or so ago. Was it? Did we really get that big of a pullback? Oh, back at the end of July. I see what you're saying. Yeah. But it's still the floating island is still intact. And
on which one? Sorry,
Dell. Floating island is still intact. You have a bit of a double bottom in that floating island. You see all this?
Let me get it. We're getting it on here. Let's see. Yeah, so you're talking about this here, right? This is the double bottom.
Yeah, the double bottom up there after we got into a floating island. Let's see, where are we going here?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm not in this, and I did not trade this. Had I have been in Dell and the buy was down here, this would have at least been a take profit target one, if not an all out. Now, that being said, this floating island did work, and this is doing exactly what we hoped, 13, in terms of resolving higher. One other thing that we would be looking at for here, maybe a back test of 470. NVIDIA higher?
I would say look at some larger time frames for a really good idea of where the support is. When I look at the weekly, you can see that since we got into the floating island, 400 has been a real big spot of support, or at least that area. So, but it's extended. So I would expect this thing to have to cool off.
This looks like a really nice, like kind of a bullish break to the upside.
Oh yeah. And you even got the pennant triangle right there too.
Yep.
Yeah, but this thing is very extended, so it wouldn't surprise me if this cooled off and came back, towards 400.
Yes, indeed. All right, Lion here saying, what a rip on the NASDAQ. All of the tech names, 13, you talked about it too, all of the tech names. By the way, that buy signal from the 0 DTE, that ended up working. Something is definitely going on with the execution there because the bot logged that as a close call instead of taking it, and it should have. But that worked. So I would be trimming into that move too if that keeps going. Netflix at the highs, by the way. Apple curling back up to the highs.
This current 5-minute candle that we're in with, I think, some of the tech stuff, we might be seeing some upside because it's like, for example, BM&R. We had a pop out of the gate, 15 minutes of selling, like 3 different 5-minute candles of selling. And I'm wondering if this current candle that we're in is going to be the one that turns us around and takes us back up. So just something I'm watching.
Okay, and this is actually right back into VWAP on BM&R.
Yeah, it's got to hold VWAP though. It's kind of struggling with it at the moment. So that's just what I'm watching. Man, Copart having some nice price action. I came down right to my cost actually. It's funny.
I'm looking at the chart here. To me, 26 looks awesome if you can get it. I don't know if you're going to be able to.
We'll see. Oh, look, FGI is trying to come back up to VWAP. So
that was, I'll tell you what, that was a clean bounce off that 65 EMA.
Yep. Now let's see if this if we get some resistance up here towards VWAP, because this is trying to come back up and get into a supply zone. And if we don't get enough volume to get in there, then it's going to be resistance. and we'll see the price get rejected. So need to see a big inflow of volume here. Kind of seems like we're getting it.
Yeah, it does. And I see it expanding here, at least on the chart. We'll see if it continues.
Yeah. Lion smelling the prey this morning.
Hey, we'll give a register ring for that. I will say he did say early today that was going to happen. He's accurate with that. So credit where credit is due, Lion. Give me a lion's roar.
And here we go, right up to the VWAP and FGI.
That was a good mention.
Now it's running into a little resistance. Good stuff, though.
Alan said, Joe, they're missing out. Are we missing something? Ondas having a Porkins moment? What am I not getting at it? Cover me.
Porkins moment.
He's
got a problem here.
Blown up. Lion, he did. Lion, I appreciate you humoring me. I asked him for a lion's roar, so what does he do? He gives it to us. Let's go, Lion.
Ondas, is it Ondas they're talking about?
I think so. Oh, Netflix is missing out. Alan, that makes more sense. Netflix is missing out on a lot of good content.
Yeah, and they,
excuse me.
A lot of it, I think, has to do with their showrunners and their writing. Even when they do adaptations, they're just not great. They need to fix their writing, and it's kind of been that way with Hollywood really since COVID, because there was a whole strike, and things haven't really ever improved since then. There's a big writing issue with when it comes to movies and TV shows these days.
Yeah, sure feels that way. Real quick, got a question here on IREN. Lav, you were asking here. Let me get the question. Can you guys check for resistance on IREN? All right, so we took a look at IREN. We talked about the news there. We talked about how great it was that this popped above some of the moving averages. The next resistance area that I think I have in here is probably going to be 54.5. Now, ultimately, if I back out on this daily chart, you can see that we actually have a trend line here connecting some of the recent highs. Ultimately, this is going to be one of my bigger targets, especially if IREN's really going to kind of turn this around here. But I would say before we get up here, and that's going to be at a 68 handle, and 13, I'd love to get your opinion on this. I do kind of think this, like 54.5 to me looks to be your next spot.
So I see a kind of an area where there's like support and resistance where, you break above a certain level and it kind of holds above there. And then if you lose it, it's kind of trades underneath there and struggles to get back up above it. It looks like there's one of those areas right at about 46. I just don't have an exact area because, you look at a monthly, you can kind of see a little bit better. If you look at this cluster of candles since second half of 2025, but it looks like that 46, that 45, 46 area has a pretty significant support and return to resistance area that we just crossed back above this month. So if we're going to hold above that, then there should be some higher prints coming. But if we, lose that level, then we're probably coming back down to the 20-month SMA.
Yeah, and I mean, that 46 level, that actually, you can see previous resistance on the daily, but that's also like right beneath these moving averages. I would imagine if it loses that, it's in trouble. Because it's also going to end up kicking out those moving averages. But Lav, let me know if that's good for some of the support and resistance areas that we just gave you.
That's part of the problem there, Marcus. And you're right, Kenneth. Disney ruined they ruined a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they did.
Now, there may be a new replacement for Star Wars coming. Not from Disney, though. Might be from Amazon. We'll see what Henry Cavill can do with Warhammer. But I'm hearing some pretty interesting things. Like
Is Warhammer big enough or popular enough to be a replacement?
Oh, just you wait.
Yeah, I guess I will.
Just you wait. It's very appealing compared to what you're getting out of Star Wars these days.
Okay.
I'll send you some stuff, and you tell me if you think that this has a chance. But I think this is
I'd love to. I'd love to look at all of that stuff. Lion here saying, I think AMAT is reporting today. You are correct. AMAT reports after the bell today.
Look at that one.
AMAT, A-M-A-T.
I like this like the way this chart looks on the monthly. Let me see here on the daily.
This actually this 5-minute chart looks like this is trying to push higher immediately, Lion.
This thing is hammering its 50-day SMA. It's been doing it for the majority of the month.
What value is that at?
Right now it's at 559.14. But you look at a lot of these names dropped and kind of bottom at the end of July, and they started recovering in August. When this one was recovering, it just went, it didn't take very long to get up to the 50-day SMA, just, a few days. And it's been hitting that, multiple times a week since it got up here. So I get the sense that this is trying to push into that area, but, it's going to be dependent on how these earnings go. I mean, we might get a great earnings print too. I don't follow Applied Materials as close as I probably should, but if we're going to use any of the more recent earnings of companies in a similar space, they may report some pretty good numbers.
Yeah, and actually, I think let me see here real quick because I actually think let me look for something here. I thought we had a report here on what they're expecting.
Now look at this. This is a great comment. Barbin Electric is saying she loves Warhammer. What's the time frame on Warhammer? It still could be a while, but I'll come back tomorrow with some more information because it still could be a little while, but it's in development. Henry Cavill is tied to it. SPY's about to hit 778. All right, SPY is up.
Here we go. Here,
and we're in new all-time highs with the SPY. So there's your resolution of the bull pennant in the SPY. Remember we were talking about that earlier this week. Yesterday, CPI didn't quite get us out of there. We fell right back in, but I guess you were right. PPI was the one that did it.
PPI. It's 13. Let me ask you, do you think that maybe there was like kind of a waiting for this, but we knew we were getting multiple inflation prints, and maybe traders didn't want to jump the gun on CPI and kind of waited out PPI, and that's what we're seeing today?
I really can't say.
Yeah, because I feel like in the past, we've seen a CPI report come out. It's been good. And then we've seen a poor PPI report the very next day that ends up smoking the traders from the day before. I don't know. To me, I almost wonder if traders were kind of waiting out a combination of both of these prints.
FGI, sorry to sidetrack here, but FGI, one of the movers from this morning, just broke through VWAP and is going into an upside halt. Should be halted here soon.
Yeah, this was a really good call, by the way. We both kind of mentioned that this was in here at the 65 EMA. That ended up working here.
Now it's coming. Now when this opens, this is what I'm not sure about. It could just blast right past the 970 high that it put in the pre-market. But if there's still a substantial amount of sellers up there keeping this price down, then once it unhalts, we may see this get up to around 950 or so, and then start to see the sellers kick in. I'm not going to make any calls on this. I don't know what to expect with this one. It looks like the MACD is starting to turn up. RSI isn't very high on the 5-minute chart, so there is a possibility that this breaks over 970. But just be careful with this one because it is very low float, and that quick move up could also be met just as fast with a quick move down.
Okay. Real quick here, Joe, I love this. Ryan, that's a plausible, unverifiable theory, LOL. And then Trey said, I think it's getting past both. I don't know. It just kind of feels that way to me. It just kind of feels like they were kind of waiting for both of these. We'll see. We'll see how it closes here. By the way, AMAT, no, I thought this had a prediction on it. It's basically just talking about what they're expecting here. They're expected to report $3.39 per share. We'll see. We'll see here with AMAT. I think that's going to be one of your bigger reports here today, honestly.
Yeah, it probably should be one of the what other companies are reporting?
Let me actually show you here real quick. Let's go to the market events.
Velo rising like an over-yeasted ball of dough. That's a good one.
AMAT, BAP, CELC, DLO, STNE, Nectar. I'll tell you, Newsmax, to me, it sure seems like AMAT's the big report of the day.
Yeah, I would say so. Now, it looks like it's because FGI is halted, we're getting a little bit more attention in XHG. If this volume continues to expand, then we can, keep an eye out for a move up to VWAP. I have VWAP at 539, but I'm not sure how great this one's going to be. The float's, much thicker than FGI. All right, let's see here. Oh, inflection went up to, inflection went up to 1295. That's still above VWAP. Ionic holding its VWAP too. It printed a high of 47.18. OFAL, one of the ones that we were trading yesterday, that has got support from its 65 EMA. It is trying to climb over the VWAP right now.
Okay, OFAL 179. Let's see, did I miss anything here? Joe says, Ryan, now that I think about it, your story on the CPI, PPI, and the data somewhere. I'd be curious to know. And Joe, I was just thinking anecdotally, so I appreciate you doing some of the legwork on that. But I would be very curious as to what you come across there. And as far as a price target for Ondas, don't necessarily have a price target. Still long, still waiting for that to go higher. I guess you could say 11, right? If we can clear out 11, we'd probably be in all right shape there.
I'm still putting in some more highs.
Lion, take care of yourself. Thanks for bringing the green, Lion. I did appreciate that comment earlier. Thanks for bringing the green.
Thanks, Lion. Take care. Rocket up 7%. RKT. I don't think it's really a stretch to say that this might be looking pretty good here. Do you see this pattern forming in Rocket?
On a daily?
Yeah.
So we're looking for this type of break here?
Yeah.
And we kind of have a flat bottom here, so we kind of have a wedge almost.
A little bit of an inverse head and shoulders. I would also say kind of slanted, but looks like that's something here to consider. I mean, this looks like it's trying to get going and turning around here. $16 is the resistance that I see. You might have some at 15, but 16's been the problem level. All right, how much time do we have left on FGI? Because that one's been the good mover so far this morning. I guess we could draw a trend line on in the pre-market highs. See if we get a
like a target trend line here. Gotcha.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going to even see the price get up there, but it unhalts and says, "Well, guess what? We're going there." It's 10:30 now. Not that trend line. I was talking about.
Look at this.
I was talking about from the pre-market, like using the highs from the pre-market, drawing an upward slanting trend line as a target. There you go. Yeah, something like that. So.
Unfortunately, I have to cut this first peak down in order to do that. I guess, let me see if I can.
Oh God, sometimes the market doesn't even let me finish speaking before it
I know,
does the thing.
It's funny when it does that though.
All right. Well,
mentioning that hood is working. Oh, sorry, 13. I didn't mean.
No, go ahead. No, you're fine. I'm just gonna say, however long this is gonna stay halted for, maybe out of the next halt we see closer to 12. I don't know with this one. Like I said, be careful. It's the low float. These moves up that we're seeing here are going to probably be the same way it comes back down.
And Trey asking, Z or Rocket, which one looks better?
Z. So we're looking at
Zillow.
Oh yeah, because we had mortgage data this morning, didn't we? Mortgage. Isn't that what we got? I thought we had some economic news regarding mortgage. Or am I thinking of a later print?
Not that I don't think so. No, we just got the PPI this morning.
Okay, when is that mortgage data coming?
Is that Friday or did we get that yesterday? No, that was the CPI yesterday. Existing home sales was on Tuesday. Is that what you're asking about?
No, like like the mortgage index and I think that the origination. I thought we had some mortgage news coming, so that's why I was trying to attribute the upward move here in some of these mortgage names. I'm just kind of trying to sniff out what's going on here.
No, I don't see anything here for this week. We do get the manufacturing and trade inventories tomorrow and the retail sales data tomorrow, but no, I don't see anything mortgage specific this week.
Okay.
All right, let me go back to the main workspace here. Sorry about that. To answer your question, Z looks like, so answering, I think you could probably go either way. I personally like Rocket a little bit more. To me, Rocket also seems like it's still kind of riding the support trend line. And it does seem like it's at a tradable area here. But if we look at Z, like if this is bottomed, you could make the argument that there's more of a range back to the upside here on Z.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's Redfin's report on U.S. pending home sales. But it was
Yeah, that's probably it. Was that today?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Go. If you look at Rocket, it's the 8 a.m. headline.
You think it's moving off that?
Well, maybe, but also the other piece of information they relayed as well, which is that home buyers dropped to a record low,
shifting the market further into the buyer's favor.
Right.
See, I think that's going to be good for mortgage origination. I think here's the other thing. I think there's so much pent up demand that you're almost going to have like a release the Kraken effect. And to me, Rocket would be the one to own there.
That's right. Rocket owns Redfin. That's right. I forgot they merged, or they whatever that transaction was. But Rocket also has like that the AI agent, I think that they deployed. Yeah, maybe this is about the time where things start to turn around for housing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that. I don't know if that's the case. My vote would go to Rocket. Yeah. Officially.
Since United Wholesale dropped their dividend and run into the plethora of problems, they're just not that attractive at all anymore. Meanwhile, Copart now at $29.50.
Bought as long an Amazon trade, by the way. Sorry, I missed that.
XHG still sideways, waiting for FGI to unhalt so we can see what craziness it does next.
Trevor, anecdotally, what's the real estate market like in your area? Home values are still good. Higher end homes continue to appreciate. Not a lot of supply, not a lot of buyers. And that's, again, Chicagoland, Midwest area.
Nationwide supply of housing is, under pressure with these fires happening and burning up homes too. That's probably going to see an impact in insurance. It's, it's tough. We need either more supply or we need to have an unfortunate event where home prices depreciate.
And then, folks, also, we're currently running a poll right now on Apple ownership. Thank you, producer, for reminding me about this. I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier. Please get your vote in. That poll's actually going to close really soon. In fact, let me go vote for it too. If I'm asking you, I might as well do it myself. I'm a little bit late to this. Please vote in our poll that closes in just a couple of minutes here.
Do we know how much time we have left on FGI? I'd probably say that right now, and it's about to unhalt.
It was halted at 10:07:39, so it is about to open. I've got it on screen for us. EKS, Benzinga, yes, you can change the trade fill alert sound. Your bot is alerting buys, I think, are mine. So, what's interesting about this? Producer, I might need a hand with this. I was wondering, there's got to be a way to not pick up the sound from an external app on Restream. And I just obviously don't have it set correctly. I might need your help figuring that out. Let me actually see. Let me try something here real quick. I know. I stopped the screen share. Let me see if this is. Aha! Also share tab audio. Well, it's not part of the tab. All right. I reshared it with that option off. EKS, let me know if you still hear that. Let me check my other settings here. Aha. I think producer didn't even look at my system, and I think he fixed it for me. I had it on my stream. Oh, but that's so you guys. Oh, I know what's happening. Because I have my mic set to pick up my mixer so you guys can hear the drops, it also picks up the thinkorswim. Damn. I'll see if I can fix that. But EKS, I should have it resolved for today. Anyway.
Selena asking me, Mara, any thoughts? Well, this isn't kind of moving with Bitcoin right now. It seems to be kind of moving in the opposite direction, unless Bitcoin's starting to come under pressure again. Let me look at it. No, that's rising. So this falling is a little bit of a different direction it's going, but this is getting to the point where it's approaching oversold on the daily chart. It could still come down lower, maybe around 9. But I would think this doesn't have a whole lot further down to go from here, because then we're going to be seeing pretty attractive pricing for bargain hunters. I would say for now 9 looks like a good area of support, but I don't know if that's the last stop to the downside. Yeah, it is also very low volume. You're right. And it seems like that's kind of been the case here for a little while.
I don't love any of these Bitcoin miners either. That's my issue.
I'm not. I don't think the crypto's done. I think there's a lot of great things about crypto, but Bitcoin in general, I'm not sure about this one anymore. Especially when you have the next halving, that could potentially make it not unprofitable to mine anymore. So I think there could be some a mass exit coming from Bitcoin based on how difficult it is to mine. But that's just me.
I think the miners have downdrafts into October, which is the halving. That's from Anne Marie.
The halving for Bitcoin? I don't think it's in October. Let me double check that though. I thought it was still a while away. Let's see here. Expected to occur in April 2028. The next Bitcoin halving. Is when that's supposed to go down. It's going to drop from 3.125 BTC to 1.5625 BTC. And with the knowledge we recently gained that Bitcoin currently costs around or almost $50,000 to mine one, that doesn't leave a whole lot of margin left on it right now.
And then here, I might have misread this. I'm sorry. I meant the downdraft in October begins before the halving, which, as you mentioned, was in April.
Yes, April 2028.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, a couple of years away. But yeah, and I think that kind of lines up with what I was saying about how we might have seen the bottom by the time we get to November and December, after the midterms. So that lines up with that, and I agree with that. That we'll see. We should see the price find its bottom by the time midterms are over. I would say sometime in November, December, we'll know for sure.
And then here, so I was asking you folks about the poll. Thank you very much for voting. Apple stock has been public since 1980. Which of the following best describes you? Traded Apple stock but don't own is first at 41%. Never owned it outside of ETFs funds is second at 36%. And I almost can't believe this. Currently own Apple stock is last with 23%. That's the bucket that I fit in. Interesting.
I owned it at one point. I don't have it right now.
So you would fit into bucket 2 or bucket 1, traded Apple stock, but don't own it currently.
So we have FGI opened. It went down to 920, and then it said, I ain't finished. And it started going up again. It's now going into a halt at 1056.
And guess what? We are about only a third away from the trend line that we drew as our possible target here. Just as a reminder, let's actually get a price associated with that. 1136.
I mean, these low super micro float movers are really risky, but man, they can, if the idea works, it really does work.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Now you are on my chart from Pro on the daily, because I think that's a little bit different from what I'm getting from my broker. It looks like there may be some resistance coming around 1250. I think somebody mentioned that earlier today too, but that's what it looks like we could run into here. We're entering a area of supply that goes back to 2022. So from here up to that level I mentioned, 1250, could be a little bit of a tough area. There could be some choppiness on the way up there, and this is also getting very extended. So if you got gains in this thing, maybe form an exit plan here on how you want to get completely out, because I don't expect this to hang out at here all day.
Okay. 10 minutes left here in the session, not in the, sorry. 10 minutes left here for our show. I beg your pardon.
In the session. I was going
to say,
short day. So SMCI, this is starting to get overbought. And we're entering into another consolidation channel that I think is going to start to see a lot more resistance. I will say that I could see this potentially going up as high as 50. I'm not confident it's going to get there before we start to see some weakness. But we are getting into an area where there's some heavy price action from the past that may feature a lot of people trying to get out of this thing.
SMCI, this has been on a huge run recently. Mm-hmm. Look at this. Insane.
Yeah, what's looking good right now? Because it seems like a lot of, besides Quantum appears to be having a pretty good morning, but a lot of names just made a move and then kind of went sideways or just fell asleep.
Yeah, the indices look really good. SPY and the NASDAQ are both at the highs. The SPY pushed through its resistance pivot. The NASDAQ or the Q is basically right at it. SPY new all-time high too, by the way. So we did take out our key level from last Thursday that we talked about. So that's looking pretty good, honestly.
Corey, I have a hard time getting on board with those types of funds picking up specifically Bitcoin. I'm not saying not crypto, but specifically Bitcoin. I don't know that that's, for the reason I gave earlier, I don't know that that's going to be something you see retirement funds. Now, other crypto, I could see that, particularly Ethereum. I think that you were 100% correct when you said that one's going to be probably the best. I think you're right about that, but I'm not sure that these retirement funds are going to look at Bitcoin and go, yeah, this is the crypto to own. I know it's popular, but for the reasons I was just mentioning, I don't know that it's necessarily going to hold its value like it has in the past.
All right, let's see what else do we have here. Beyond Meat. I don't know what to make of this, but Beyond Meat's trading up here 44 cents. There
was a number of names I saw this morning that were undergoing like reverse splits, or I'm trying to see if I can find them and see what they're doing.
Oh, you want to see the reverse splits from today?
Yeah, if you can see the reverse split, yeah, we could do that search. But
all right, here we go.
BNRG was one of them, I think.
Yep, BNRG is definitely one of them. That stock's up 11%. At my size, MYSZ is another one. We've traded that before. Kids with a Z, KIDZ is your.
Yep.
And then SMXT, Solar Max. And then the last one here is MBAI.
Now, I'd be curious to see if there's a capital raise coming in any of those, because if there's a call for the Fed to raise rates, and that's kind of what the expectation is looking like for next month, I think you're going to see a lot of, you could see a lot of capital raising, or maybe even some more mergers. There's going to be some financial transactions happening here to get ahead of that rate change. And I think that's what we've been seeing a lot of this, capital raising going on with, all these different names.
Mm-hmm. And we've also, we've seen that some of those recent reverse splitters have really gone ballistic. By the way, MBIS, more call sweeps here. MBIS looking like this might go back towards the top end of its range.
Where is Oracle headed? Looks like it's recovering pretty well. We're trading back over the 50-day SMA again. Would like to see it continue to close over that for the next several days. I would say that you do have a bit of a resistance area at about 160. So it might struggle with that as it holds the 50-day SMA. But I think that the Quantinuum news was great, that they're now incorporating quantum into their cloud enterprise, or whatever, So I could still see a little bit more upside if we get through 160. 175 is where I would be like, yeah, that's probably about as high as we're going to go for a little while, before it needs to cool off. I think if we get up to 175, 180, it's going to be in pretty extended territory. So those are the next levels I see: 160, 175, the upside.
Ondas back to 8 or 950. It's good to see that coming back here again. My read on that is that the report was good. Market just kind of reacted negatively to it, but this is a nice way to cut. Well, let's see if we can get back above 960. Hood looking like a bull flag to Allen.
Ooh, let's take a look.
Yeah, it looks like a bull flag to me too, Alan.
Oh, on the 5-minute?
Intraday, yeah, sorry.
Well, I would like to have seen some more lower prints. Might be trading up into a rising wedge. I'm not going to say it's not possible for this thing to blast through 100 and go higher, but I would want to see some more volume than what we're getting right now. I think that's my concern, is the volume at this level. There's no real, solid. It hasn't held 100 after it's been printing above it. There are sellers there, and I think that the lack of volume that we're getting right now, as we're trying to break through, that is going to prevent it from, getting up there. We need to see more volume in Hood, I would say, if we're going to get above and hold $100. Meanwhile, QBTS, new highs.
EKS, since I adjusted those settings, have you heard the Thinkorswim fill noise at all? Just out of curiosity. It's just so I know how to set it tomorrow. I'm sorry, 13, which one was that you were looking at?
I was just saying QBTS, new highs.
QBTS.
2176, and a little bit of a pull occurring.
Nikhil mentioning that it looks like NVIDIA is stuck. This actually looks okay. It looks like it's holding above the VWAP. I would imagine if we continue to have a positive day here, maybe NVIDIA rolls back towards the highs.
It's a tough thing, Selena, because you see it hitting the levels, but we have all these concerns about it's capital expenditures, it's debt, and it feels safer just to avoid it and find something else. And when it starts turning around and going, I get the regret, hit your levels and all that. It's probably just one of those things. It's better to be safe than sorry. We can't be beating ourselves up for something that we were just too concerned about, but looked like it was a good trade. There's going to be plenty of opportunities.
EKS, you have not here. Okay, cool. So at least I figured out what the appropriate setting is to mute that. I'll see if I can figure out a long-term solution for that, but good stuff. Okay.
Looks like XHG is still trying to manage its way through VWAP. It is trading higher than the last time we looked at it. So maybe just a little bit more volume expansion, and we're on the other side of VWAP, but still having to deal with a lot of the consolidation from the pre-market.
XHG, I'm still weary of this one. That first peak above the VWAP was all it gave, it looks like.
Yeah, and this one does have a bigger float. So it's not going to. I don't expect it to put in the big moves that FGI is doing. Because, FGI is less than 1 million shares in the float. This thing is just getting manhandled. So it could still climb up to that 1250 resistance. It's holding VWAP right now, FGI. So we'll see what happens out of this halt. But just remember, as this morning goes on, volume is going to continue to leave.
Indeed. And 13, we are basically out of time here. You have any closing words for the group? Send us off into our Thursday. Preseason football tonight. Anyway, Any closing words for the group?
Another wonderful day here. What a great move in the market here to take us up out of that bull pennant that we saw in the SPY. Just fantastic stuff. Nice short squeezing. I'm glad folks made money. Let's come back here tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. So until then, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
All right, really good stuff here, 13. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We will see him tomorrow. And don't forget, folks, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have Anne-Marie tomorrow. We're going to have Mark Petrino tomorrow. 13 is going to be back. We're going to close the week out strong and have a great time. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll catch you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.